me. Help me.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. And, oh, here he is. Right on time. I see you, Sergio. I got you. Let's drag the man of the hour in here. There you go.
I am no man of the hour, dude.
You are the one who has ruined my whole evening by bringing this to light. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a emergency episode. A special episode.
Hold on, have I been moved?
Yeah, you've been moved.
It says I'm still in lobby A. What is...
Yeah, Discord is being glitchy. Yeah, I know. It's a special episode of Beyond Spray and Pray 1000. Episode 108, dethroned, pushed it to this weekend. Today is a special something, a little special something, a treat, one might even say.
I was right!
He breaks a teacup. I am Spray and Pray 1000, and I'm joined here today by a gigantic host of fellow Anthem haters.
I was right!
First of all...
Wait, whoa, I don't hate Anthem. I just don't like it.
Oh, I was finally moved.
Well, let's hand you a pitchfork and a torch, dude. It's all good. Mr. Afro Gundam, the newest edition.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Mr. Godwork, the silent but deadly, the judger.
Let's go, dorks.
He who weighs Anthem upon the scales of bad games. Mr. Liberty Prime.
It's not my name anymore.
Double Prime.
Yes.
The man with the shotgun himself, the sawed-off killer, the wall-bouncing Mr. Titus Loves Yuna, instant retreat. There you go, resident sleeper, as predicted. Very good. Mr. Yummy Gun.
Hello.
keeping everything down from up top, dude. We are here to judge Anthem from on high. And of course, the man at the center. I am only the man with the OBS software and the channels. Mr. Surgster1, the king of temperance.
Imagine in the year 2019 getting hype for a BioWare game.
So now that everyone has...
in our faces, I'll take it.
There you go. So one more time. The Mr. Sawed-Off Shotgun himself, the wall-bouncing man of judgment, Mr. Instant Retreat.
Hey, what's up, guys?
This is, if you didn't like the first Anthem Destruction episode, the Anthem Burial, you
you're
are
gonna cry.
sure as fucking gonna like this episode.
You're crying.
I have actually, when I sat down and Sergio linked this to me, I intentionally did not read this. And the reason why is because and you could quote me on this, I said I wanted to be sprayed out like a virgin on prom night when I read this article. So I am fucking ready. I am completely all fucking holes open. Because this, when I saw who wrote it and who published it, it was time. No, it's really, this made my whole fucking day. I woke the fuck up when I saw this. So let's just get right into it. Because I'm not delaying this shit forever. And I, of course, have an archive link because, you know, it is what it is. And, written by none other than Jason Schreier, our good friend at Kotaku. And you might be wondering, well, what could Kotaku want to write about Anthem? You know, they seem to be a pretty fair news source, depending who you ask or whatever. I wouldn't go that far. I actually think this will be a good read. And if Sergio, I'm banking on it that this is a good read.
I could not stop laughing through this entire read because I was right. I have been vindicated.
This man acting like he was crucified or some shit.
Vindication
I
at
kind of was. Let's be fair now.
So, just really quickly before we start, a brief moment of prayer and silence for Anthem.
Why?
Help me! Help me!
We don't play that game.
Amen. All right. No, yeah, perfect. How BioWare's Anthem Went Wrong by Jason Schreier, today at 11 a.m. Today is April 2nd, 2019. This was written about 12 hours ago. Let's
The
begin
day
with the
after
article.
April Fool's.
Yes, by the way, this is not an April Fool's article. This is not a joke. It wasn't even supposed to be called Anthem. Just days before the annual E3 convention in June of 2017, when the storied studio BioWare would reveal its newest game, the plan had been to go with a different title, Beyond. They even printed out Beyond t-shirts for the staff. Then, I mean, that's fair enough. All right, you know, things change. Then less than a week before the Los Angeles press conference held by BioWare's parent company, Electronic Arts, word came down that securing the rights to the trademark would be too difficult. Beyond was ruled out. The leadership team quickly switched to one of their backup options, Anthem. But whereas Beyond had been indicative of where BioWare had hoped the game would be, you'd go out beyond the walls of your fort into the dangerous wilds around you, Anthem didn't mean much. Yes, Mr. Prime.
No, unfortunately, Beyond was trademarked by Beyond Spray and Pay 1000.
Oh! Fuck you,
Oh!
EA!
Oh!
Hold on. These nuts. That's all I'm gonna say. These motherfucking nuts, dude.
He's in
Wait, has been trademarked by who before?
By me.
It was just
missed
hard.
Beyond Spray and Pray 1000, dude.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And you know, I let Quantic Dream take that name for Beyond Two Souls, okay? I didn't even play that game. I even said I won't even take your game and make a playthrough on it. I played the demo, though. I don't remember it. Anyway. Everybody was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. What does this have to do with anything? Said one person who worked on the game, anonymous, by the way. Just days before their game's announcement, the team at BioWare had a brand new name nobody really understood. Such a major last-minute upheaval might seem strange to an outside observer, but on Anthem, it was common. Very few things went right in the development of BioWare's latest game, an online cooperative shooter that was first teased mid-2012 but spent years floundering in pre-production. Many of the features weren't finalized or implemented until the very final months. And to some who worked on the project, it wasn't even clear what kind of game Anthem even was until that E3 demo of June 2017, less than 2 years before the game actually came out. Later, they came up with an explanation for the name. The game's planet was enveloped by something called the Anthem of Creation, a powerful, mysterious force that left environmental cataclysms across the world. When Anthem launched in February of 2019, it was, and I want to highlight this, it was panned by fans and critics. Today, it has a 55 on Metacritic, BioWare's lowest score since the company was founded in 1995. The developer, once known for ambitious role-playing titles like Dragon Age and the original Mass Effect trilogy, has now released 2 critical flops in a row, following 2017's disappointing Mass Effect Andromeda. Although hardcore fans put their faith in BioWare to continue fixing Anthem's bugs and improving its mechanics, especially since Bungie's Destiny, a similar game, had a rough launch and eventually recovered, few were very happy with the initial release. Anthem wasn't just buggy and thin on content, it felt half-baked, like it hadn't been play-tested and tweaked enough by developers with experience playing other looter shooters. In the weeks after launch, there appeared to be a major new problem every day. Mr. Search,
I'm going to stop you right now. I'm going to stop you right now.
Stand up.
Some water.
Take your fucking bow. Take your fucking bow. Yeah, I'll get some water, but you better take your fucking bow.
No, I already did that in the... Have you not seen the shit posts I was having in video games?
No, I haven't.
I was laughing my ass off. I died.
I'm not going to show the Discord, but I did see you post it a lot. So I will... I cannot even begin to describe this. If we just break here, by the way. I don't know how long this fucking article is.
Oh, it's long.
Oh, shit. This motherfucker is long as... Alright, we can't break. Never mind. We're going to be here all night. Mr. Surger 2. You were right. And we at Spray and Pray 1000 humbly apologize to you. You get a pass on this one. You get more than a pass. You get the role. Oh shit, hold on. I got
Actually, yo, please, give me the role. Please.
Wait, what role?
I don't know. He was right.
Schmuck City. Make a new role.
Right.
Schmuck City.
Yeah, I'll give you some. We'll do it after this though. You were right. And not only, I mean, look, you might have been right maybe for unclear reasons, but I think this time around I can give that a pass given the nature of what he
pretty much everything that went through this article, I touched upon in all of my arguments about why Anthem probably won't be a good game.
No, just say it sucks cock. Let's just leave it at that. I'm not going to call this a bad game.
I know, I never wanted to say it suck cock. I just said, you know.
I'll say it. I'll go back. I'll go back and say it does, but... Fans have speculated endlessly as to how Anthem went so awry. Was it originally a single-player role-playing game like BioWare's previous titles? Did EA force BioWare to make a Destiny clone? Did they strip out all of the good missions to sell later as downloadable content? Is the loot system secretly driven by an elaborate AI system that keeps track of everything you do so it can get you to spend more money on the game? Woo! Oh, I'm a little spicy here, man. The answer to all those questions is fuck no. This account of Anthem's development, based on interviews with 19 people who either worked on the game or adjacent to it, all of whom were granted anonymity because they were not authorized to talk about Anthem's development, is a story of indecision and mismanagement. It's a story of technical failings as EA's Frostbite engine continued to make life miserable for many of BioWare's developers, and understaffed departments struggle to serve their team's needs. I would just like to... it's a story of 2 studios.
We're going to cry.
One in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and another in Austin, Texas, that grew resentful towards one another thanks to a tense, lopsided relationship. It's the story of a video game that was in development for nearly 7 years, but did not enter production until the final 18 months, thanks to big narrative reboots, major design overhauls, and a leadership team said to be unable to provide a consistent vision and unwilling to listen to feedback. This might fucking be the best paragraph I have ever read on this fucking podcast. There is nothing I will ever read in the next 100 episodes that will compare to this. The only thing that comes close is when Randy Pitchford was talking about that one sex worker who squirts like a fucking fire hose. This is the closest thing we've got to this. Holy fucking shit, I love this. This is incredible. This is a fucking masterpiece. Perhaps most alarming, it's a story about a studio in crisis. Dozens of developers, many of them decade-long veterans, have left BioWare over the past 2 years. Some of who have worked at BioWare's longest-running office in Edmonton talk about depression and anxiety. Many say they saw their coworkers had to take stress leave, a doctor-mandated period of weeks or even months' worth of vacation for their mental health. One former BioWare developer told me they would frequently find a private room in the studio, shut the door, and just cry. People were so angry and sad all the time, they said. Said another, depression and anxiety are an epidemic within EA. What is wrong at your... What is even happening anymore?
No, once again,
studio?
not EA. BioWare. Let's set the record straight once and for all. BioWare.
No, I'm gonna blame EA for this. I'm gonna say one thing.
Trust me,
what?
you cannot.
No, I'll just say one thing preliminarily. How the fuck did they let this studio run like this? What did they just like throw these people in a studio, shut the door, and say go Belko experiment? Like, what is going on in here? What the fuck happened at BioWare? I don't know. Let's find out. I actually cannot count the amount of stress casualties we had on Mass Effect Andromeda or Anthem, said a third former BioWare developer in an email. A stress casualty means someone had such a mental breakdown, they're just gone for 1 to 3 months. Some come back, some don't.
And what if he just
disappeared? Yeah, and there they go. See, they're taking another one off to the hospital.
Just take a leave of absence,
and you just don't come back. That's it. You might not.
I mean, honestly, the reason for your leaving, the stress, like, is that a left?
You'd
like,
rather
why
just
come back?
leave your job.
Why
You're not
come back?
gonna wait to get fired. You just leave. You just don't come back. Holy shit.
The reason for your stress is still there. So long as Anthem is being developed, why come back?
Respawn, run, just fucking run. You're not gonna make it. This is fucking terrible. And I do feel bad for the developers at BioWare who had to go through this and live this, but holy fucking shit, you're making video games. You're not working in blood diamond mines.
Ooh, that's
holy shit. Oh my god. Yeah, well, working at EA is harder, I guess. Let's see. Oh, whoops, I'm sorry. EA and BioWare declined to comment on this story. Ooh, look at that.
Oh, but they did.
Oh, but they did. Yeah, you're right. See note at the bottom. I'm following the article for those of you who are interested. We're like a 10th of the way through this, mind you. This is a fucking epic. I didn't know it was this long, Sergio. You should have told.
No, I told you to go read it.
Oh no. Some among those who work or have worked at BioWare, there's a belief that something drastic needs to change. Many of the company now grumble that the success of 2014's Dragon Age Inquisition was one of the worst things that could have happened to them. The third Dragon Age, which won Game of the Year at the 2014 Game Awards, was the result of a brutal production process plagued by indecision and technical challenges.
Imagine having such a bad dev cycle that you want your game to fail.
Yeah, just imagine that. You don't want it to do well, because it validates all the suffering, is what it really is. It was built, what was it, let's see. It was mostly built over the course of its final year, which led to lengthy crunch hours and lots of exhaustion. Some of the people in Edmonton were so burnt out, said one former BioWare developer. They were like, we need Dragon Age Inquisition to fail in order for people to realize this isn't the right way to make video games. Within the studio, oh my god, Sergio, it's just magic. Holy fucking shit.
It just worked.
It just worked. They are literally proving 5-year-old memes in this shit. Within the studio, there's a term called BioWare magic. It's a belief that no matter how rough a game's production might be, things will always come together in the final months. The game will always coalesce. It happened with fucking Mass Effect Trilogy. on Dragon Age Origins and on Inquisition. Veteran BioWare developers like to refer to production as a hockey stick. It feels flat for a while, and then it suddenly jolts upward. Even when... this is Telltale. That's what this is. This is the fucking Telltale story all over again. We're too high for our own success, and one day it just doesn't work no more. Wow. Even when a project feels like a complete disaster, there's a belief that with enough hard work and enough difficult crunch, it'll all come together. After the high profile, by the way, failures of Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem, it has become clear to current and former BioWare employees that this attitude is no longer working. In recent years, BioWare has done serious damage to its reputation as a premier RPG developer. Maybe the hockey stick approach is no longer viable, or maybe, just maybe, that sort of production practice was never really sustainable in the first place. One thing's for certain, on Anthem, BioWare's magic ran out. Alright, so this seems like a moderate break here. Does anyone want to jump in?
It can't continue.
They literally could not.
One thing though, this, like, the reason why this is bad for video game companies, because this provides some insight on why games are so bad on release. Like, this is basically a window in to see why some games are just atrocious.
And that's what I liked about the Telltale thing, is because we kind of got to see, like, well, what really went wrong at Telltale? Why were all their games so similar, you know, in poor quality towards the end? Well, it's because they had a lot of projects, a lot of money being spent to get them, and their model of making games was cool when it was, like, sparse. You know, it wasn't cool when every year there were, like, 2.5 Telltale games. Yeah, like, it was cool that they made Walking Dead when Walking Dead was pertinent and fresh, and it was cool, you know, that it was kind of a new, different take on everything, and it was fun. Wolf Among Us people liked, but kind of after that, we tapered off. I'm surprised to hear that the Mass Effect trilogy, they didn't cite which games in particular, but I could imagine Mass Effect 3 easily being one of those. Dragon Age Origins, so their first EA project, mind you, because Mass Effect 1 was Microsoft Studios originally, and Inquisition, they had to crunch it in the last few months. So that means that the development is completely uneven. That if you just pour enough time and literally just time, and their employees just can't do it anymore. I guess to keep it short, it's not sustainable. It's like if you do 800 projects, right? Like your big term paper, the week before, like you start all of it. Maybe even not the week, like in terms of relative time length. Just like a day before, you're gonna you're gonna feel an extreme way. Let's just say that. You're not gonna feel very good if you had to work like a dog with ridiculously long hours to the point that your mental health is collapsing. And you know what? Anyone else? Because why am I stopping myself from eating at this fucking banquet? We got wings, we got drumsticks, we got stuffing, we got mac and cheese, we got collard greens, we got everything. I'm gonna keep reading unless anyone has anything to say.
I think the biggest issue with game development cycles is that people expect too much too often, and that's just not how that works. You gotta give it time. Which apparently seems to be the problem a lot with BioWare games. Mass Effect 3 got rushed through. Mass Effect 2 got rushed through, what, 18 months for actual production cycle? I think Mass Effect 3 went through the same issue where they had a total development cycle of, like, what, 2 years total? I think it was, like, storyboarding and everything was in 2 years. I think that's also what happened in Dragon Age 2.
And some studios can do that. I just want to point that out.
Yeah.
But not everyone.
To be fair, they had 7 years for Anthem.
Okay,
no, not according to this.
Not according to this.
Well, I mean, okay, no, there were 7 effective years of work, but they spent like 6 of them.
They like to rush their shit at the end.
This is what I'm talking about. Like, BioWare has been pushed in the last, like, decade to push out full games from pre-production to full-on, like, what is it, Gold Seal?
Yeah, basically done.
Months.
Yeah.
3 games, I know for a fact. Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3, and I believe Dragon Age 2 were all pushed out in 18 months of production.
Well, they would also say Anthem and Andromeda suffered from that too, so that's basically all their major projects.
I think Andromeda got pushed out in 2 years, but was in pre-production for a year beforehand, and then scrapped and remade during the production process.
Yeah,
so
like,
that's the thing. Like, we're talking about AAA games, and yeah, they had 7 years, but apparently, from what Malcolm just read, that was what, 5 years of pre-production with no work.
I wouldn't even say 5 years. It's like 5.5 years of no work being done.
It's crazy. It's just like from what I know about Andromeda and the Mass Effect series, the original trilogy, 2 and 3 at least, EA pushes a lot of those timelines up.
And publishers like doing that because they don't respect.
I know. Honestly, from this though, it seemed like EA gave them a ton of time, and at this point in time, EA was like, "You gotta release the game. You had 7 years. You already delayed it once. Figure it out."
Yeah, it's just crazy to me that even with 7 years, like, they get pushed out.
You said this though, like we said this, like EA is forcing their hand.
But what we didn't know was how much of it was on BioWare, and it seems like they have a studio culture of, as we just read, especially these OG, veteran employees there, that they just like to do all this shit for whatever many years. Last 18 months, time to start code, and they literally start coding like in the last 18 months. They don't figure it out along the way. They don't do anything that you would, logically think they might do. Maybe piecemeal. Apparently, they are working ridiculous shifts, collapsing mental health until the day that they submit it to tape out.
This is literally the case of doing your project over
the last minute. Like, I think about it, oh man, maybe I'll do this and this, but you never write anything down. You never say, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, I need this many articles from here. And if, I'm going to do this, I need to, like, make a model, now. Like, maybe let me start a demo. Nope. Figure it out last week.
The difference is, though, if you last minute a paper, no one's paying you to freaking make a paper.
And if you do it well enough, no one will know, is the other part.
And it doesn't matter. I mean, that also happens in gaming industry, where you do it well enough and no one knows that you basically rushed it.
But they relied on it, man.
But the difference is that literally you don't have as many working elements. One, it's only on you. If you get a bad grade, that's on you. This is an entire industry, an entire company.
Yeah, this is business.
That's resting on this game.
This is stockholders are looking at this. EA is putting faith in this. It's different than like cheating on a high school paper. When you get, like, this is what they always tell you in school. Like, when you get to business, you can't do this shit. And here we are, right? Like, EA is a pretty big name. BioWare was a pretty big name for a long time. And we are literally watching them trying to last minute their fucking games to slide into home. And it worked pretty much up until Andromeda. Whatever they did, it worked. Whatever you want to say about the quality of the ending of Mass Effect 3 or Dragon Age, they were good games. Whatever. I can
the BioWare magic worked for them right then and there.
And now, then, as soon as Andromeda was next up, the end. I think
the biggest issue is that at least the BioWare magic might have worked for games with a sensible engine. UE3 is used, like, they probably know like the back of their hands.
I think the issue isn't even a tech. I think both Andromeda and Anthem seem to be built by committee, not by someone who knows what, like, it seems to be games built by committee instead of a game built for idea. Built to sell instead of built to tell, basically.
I disagree. From what I got from this article, I disagree. I felt like they wanted to make a good game, but the management could never pin down
the
what
leader.
exactly
The leadership is who has the idea. Leadership is what runs these.
No, but the leadership also didn't come with any ideas. They were just like, figure it out.
They literally made the game because they knew they had to make something of anything. Whatever, who cares? That's what they're thinking.
I think everyone wants to make a good game. I think even the people who made Aliens Colonial Marines wanted to make a good game.
I think the reason why this fell apart, though, is because literally the difference between Andromeda and Anthem are those games are kind of, they have no framework to really base the originals off. I mean, Andromeda has sort of Mass Effect, but they went with a completely different system this time.
Andromeda, well, To argue against Andromeda is actually what they wanted the original Mass Effect to be. And they actually had to scale back the project because of the time restraints. Actually, they fucked up their own technology.
Oh.
So they did have framework for Andromeda, but Anthem, you might be right. I don't know anything about Anthem because I don't give a shit about that.
I would just like to really quickly throw one piece of shit in BioWare's face, since we're basically taking them out back to hang them.
Who's better?
Yeah, well, that's hanging over like God right now. But irregardless of that, these are the same motherfuckers who said that we are going to include vehicle sections in Mass Effect 2, so we know how to put them in Mass Effect 3. We finally found out why there were no vehicle sections in Mass Effect 3, by the way. They didn't have time. They didn't have time after putting out like $20 or $30 worth of post-game DLC for Mass Effect 2 when they couldn't have it in the campaign of that game either. We're figuring shit out now that is kind of... It's just sad. Because they always said, that was the one thing that they said, oh, well, Mass Effect 1 had vehicle sections. The reason is DLC, and 2 is because we want to work on it and do weird stuff, and that way it's not a part of the main campaign, and then Mass Effect 3 will come out and it'll be in the main campaign. Mass Effect 3 has no vehicle segments. And I mean, this is not even old. And I mean, the ones in Andromeda, as someone who played that game, it basically is a fucking taxi cab. It's the most... It's not even a shitty gun staple to the thing. It's whatever. But Andromeda has its own gameplay, which isn't awful. It's just... I don't know, man. It's BioWare. And I agree, BioWare's magic is out.
It's like a kid, again, going back to the paper thing. I'm going to have multiple working elements, I'm going to have multiple paragraphs and stuff, and then...
Well, time to get it on the paper.
So, yeah.
No. Actually, no. It's that they spent the entire time writing the framework for the paper, like writing the actual outline, and then on the last day, they're like, oh, it's time to actually
fill in everything. I mean, outline, sure. I could
things
get
that they promised that their professor that they would have, like all the working
nowhere to be found
there, because they don't have time to do that anymore because they decided to wait the night before to do it.
Well, like I said, I got a fucking banquet staring me in the face, so I think I'm gonna dig right into the first. That was the palate cleanser, right? Get that shitty taste out of your mouth of good video games, because we're about to dive into some shit. At the beginning, they called it Dylan. In late 2012 and 2013, while finishing up the Mass Effect trilogy, BioWare director and my favorite employee at BioWare, Casey Hudson, and a small team of longtime Mass Effect developers started working on a project they hope would be the Bob Dylan of video games. Meaning something that would be referenced by video game fans. This article writes itself, holy shit. It would be referenced by video game fans for years to come. Even within BioWare, it was a mystery project. You needed a password to get onto the wiki, according to one person who was on it. For a while, the team stayed small. Most of BioWare's staff were on Dragon Age Inquisition, which needed all hands on deck in order to ship by the end of 2014. That's the end of that paragraph. I just want to point out, meaning something that would be referenced by video game fans for years to come. That line is
no, you think that line is great?
This whole thing is gold.
No, that line has more relevance later on. Remember that line.
Oh, I love this. This is a 5-part fucking drama. The early ideas for Dylan, which we'll call Anthem from now on for clarity, were ambitious and changing constantly, according to people who were on the project. As is typical during this sort of ideation phase, nobody knew what the game would look like yet. They just wanted to see what might be cool. Alright, fair enough. It would be an action game, certainly, and be able to play it with your friends. The goal was to get away from traditional sci-fi and fantasy so the game would feel distinct from Mass Effect and Dragon Age. One concept that quickly emerged was the idea of a dangerous, hazard-filled planet. Anthem would be set on a hostile alien world, and in order to go out into the wilderness, you need a robot suit. A realistic, NASA-inspired robot suit. The pitch was simple. Iron Man, but less cartoony. And we have a little picture of what it would have looked like. There you go, see? That looks pretty cool, alright. Over the... okay. Over the months, a core concept started to crystallize. Anthem's planet would be sort of like the Bermuda Triangle of this universe, with an inexorable gravity that was constantly pulling in alien ships and hazards. As a result, the world would be lethal and full of dangerous creatures. You were at the bottom of the food chain. It sounds like Xenoblade Chronicles X right now, actually, which is hilarious.
Xenoblade Chronicles 2, when you meet the monkey when you first spawn into the world?
Yeah,
a one-shot team.
Yeah, but that is literally all Xenoblade Chronicle X. It's like you are shit, and you have to climb the food chain. And this is literally what this says. You're at the bottom of the food chain, and everything is significantly more powerful than you, said one person who worked on the game. When describing these early iterations of Anthem, oh my god, developers have made comparisons to Dark Souls, Darkest Dungeon, and even Shadow of the Colossus. There would be big, scary creatures out in the world, and your job would be to see how long you could survive. One prototype allowed players to attach themselves to a giant monster. Others centered on the atmosphere, the weather, and this really sounds like Xenoblade. Holy shit! The idea was
sounds more like Zoids.
Yeah, like Zoids, like Lost Planet, like Xenoblade. The idea was going to be that there were all these levers that could be pulled in internally, so there'd be different events happening at all times, said a developer. You'd be out somewhere, and an electrical storm would happen at random, and you had to survive it. We had
Does that exist in the game?
I have no clue. Probably not.
I don't believe so, but I do know storms do happen.
Kind of shaper storms.
Yeah.
I didn't get that far. My game crashed, and I quit. You'd be out somewhere. We had an early demonstration of this where the environment was dynamic, and by pulling levers, we could change it from summer to winter to fall. You'd see snow hitting the ground, hitting the trees. There were states of the build that it was being demonstrated, and we could see that this was something you could actually accomplish. We saw a small glimpse of these prototypes at E3 2014 when BioWare showed a teaser trailer for the as-yet untitled game that would eventually become Anthem. This didn't transfer well. The final game would have even nothing close to those teases, by the way. Anthem was always envisioned as an online That is a great plot twist, by the way. Anthem was always envisioned as an online multiplayer game, according to developers who worked on it, and it wasn't always a looter shooter, the kind of game where you'd endlessly grind missions for new weapons. In these early versions, the idea was that you'd embark from a city, go on expeditions with your friends, staying out in the world as long as you could survive. You'd use a robotic exosuit, you'd fight monsters with melee and shooting attacks, but the focus was less on hoarding loot and more on seeing how long you could survive. One mission, for example, might take you and a squad to the center of a volcano where you'd have to figure out why it was erupting, kill some creatures, and then fight your way back. That was the main hook said in Anthem. They're all anonymous. They're all anonymous. Oh my god, this is like Watergate or some shit, man.
They legitimately, I think, risked legal action.
Yeah, they legit did. Oh my god, we're going out as they're going out as a team, trying to accomplish something as a team, and then come back and talk about it. Along the way, you could scavenge or salvage alien ships for parts and bring them back to upgrade your weapons, enhance your suit, blah blah blah. It was really interesting, said one person who worked on it. It really struck a chord with a lot of people who were working on it originally. What remained unclear during this process was how many of these ideas and prototypes would actually work at scale. Dynamic environments and giant creatures might perform nicely in a controlled environment, but would the Anthem team really be able to make these features work in an online open-world game played by thousands and thousands of people? And would Frostbite, the volatile game engine that BioWare was now using for all of its projects, you were right about, dude, fuck you, really support all these features? As these questions lingered, the Anthem team faced a major shakeup. In August of 2014, they continued to prototype and dream about their game. They lost their leader, Casey Hudson. Who
he saw the writing on the wall and I was like, I'm out.
He saw him, and I do believe Soderlund knew, to some degree. I do believe Soderlund knew.
Now, no, they talk about it. Soderlund definitely, most definitely knew.
Oh, it's in this? Oh, goddamn you and your spoiling ass. God damn it. I can't wait for that to be like...
What?
Patrick Soderlund, he departed as like the CEO of EA like a year or two ago, and I'm saying that he knew something about this. Okay. He was in on it. He saw it. He's like, "Yep, time to retire," and he left. Anyway, who cares about Casey Hudson? Yeah, fuck that guy. The foundation of our new IP in Edmonton is complete. He wrote in a letter to the studio, and I think the team is ready to move forward into pre-production on a title that will redefine interactive entertainment. Bear in mind, this is August of 2014. So this would have been about 4.5 years before the game would come out. Casey Hudson writes, "We are ready to move forward into pre-production, and it will redefine interactive entertainment." John Warner, a relatively new hire who worked for Disney, oh my fucking god, before joining EA in 2011, took the role of game developer. BioWare veterans like to describe Casey Hudson's Mass Effect team as the Enterprise from Star Trek. They all did what the captain said, and they were all laser-focused on a single destination. By comparison, they called Dragon Age team a pirate ship meandering from port to port until it reached its final destination. Now, the Enterprise no longer has Jean-Luc Picard. Still, members of the Anthem team say they remained happy. Dragon Age Inquisition shipped at the end of 2014 to critical acclaim, and many of those developers moved over to Anthem, where they found a team full of high hopes and ambitious ideas. EA had these team health reports, said one. Anthem's morale was among the highest in all of EA. It was really, really good for quite a while. Everyone saw there was so much potential in those early prototypes. Potential was always the word there. One BioWare developer who hadn't moved to the Anthem team recalled hearing those colleagues talk about how much better they had it than the people who were stuck on Andromeda, which at the time was going through serious struggles thanks to technical challenges and significant directional changes.
You think the shade? This is just the start of a shade being thrown internally at BioWare.
This is all the Andromeda people. This is literally Andromeda people shitting on the Anthem people.
They basically had a war going on.
They threw people under the... No, there is some, like... what was the... blonde hair, blue eyes type shit going on at BioWare.
Aryan race.
Yeah, Aryan race superiority going on at BioWare.
Oh, well, we work at, it's like the South Park shit. Oh, we work at Anthem. You guys, you peasants work at Andromeda. Have fun shipping to like 70s on Metacritic.
55.
Can I just really quickly remind you of one quote, Sergio? But they could not see the sword hanging above their heads. These dudes have no clue.
That is the best quote. Oh. Thank you, Base Damascus. Thank you.
Thank you, Base Xenos. I love you. Okay, I'm sorry. I needed that break. I was going to explode. Surely they thought that... No! Surely they thought it couldn't happen to Anthem. Oh, you poor fucks. You poor fucks. Wow. We took so much time to get the experience correct, said another person who worked on the game. I think that's why morale was so high. I knew we had taken the time to really refine what we wanted the game to be about. Now we just had to go and produce it. And here's the quote. EA had these team health reports, which would also imply that EA had the team health reports when they were bad. Uh-oh. Question was...
management?
I don't know. Dude, we are... How are you enjoying the meal? How are you enjoying it? We're
Yo, this
is Schadenfreude live.
I'm loving this appetizer right now.
This is Schadenfreude live, dude. And the best is yet to come.
I'm loving this appetizer right now, though.
The question was, how would they do that? As development progressed, it became clear that some of Anthem team's original ideas either wouldn't work or weren't quite solidified to be implemented. Take traversal, for example. The mandate was that it would be massive and seamless, but how would you get around? The team played around with prototypes, exploring different ways in which your exosuit could move vertically. For a long time, they thought it'd be climbing up the sides of mountains and ledges, but they couldn't get that right. Early iterations of flying, which developers say was removed from and then re-added to Anthem several times.
Now hold on a second. Remember when you guys are saying that the flight was the best part of Anthem?
Oh my god.
That's why
the flight is the best part of Anthem.
And this is not good. This is...
Now, this is going to become very relevant when Patrick Soderland gets involved.
Oh, dude, I hate you. You're pulling a Tuarma jutsu.
Basically, because the reason why flying is so important is because in any world-based thing, the most important thing is movement around the world.
But at the same time... I have to cut you off there. But at the same time, think about it this way. If you allow for people to just traverse the entire world through flight, everything that you've done to design the actual world itself, all that effort, goes to waste. Because all of the players...
Actually, Kirby.
Yeah, I could give an example.
You could completely avoid Kirby. You could avoid everything in Kirby if you wanted to.
No, I could give a good example of this, and again, this game is going to come up like 8 times in this podcast. Xenoblade X, right? The start of the game, you can only like do a minor space jump and you're on foot. Then when you get a Skell, like, and I'm not even kidding, about 25 hours in, if you're just playing like a normal playthrough, you can now do like space jumps, the combat changes, like the whole game kind of flips in on itself. Because now you can, like, do bigger space jumps because you have a Skell. You have a big Gundam to literally jump you across chasms and shit. And then once you learn the ability to fly, like, maybe another 10 or so hours later, the game just completely changes again because now you can access pretty much anything in the game world. It becomes one of those things of if you can see it, we can get to it. and that's pretty significant, I'd say. That's a type of game that does it well. I mean, obviously, Xenoblade is more of a single-player experience compared to Anthem, but at
Anthem
the bare
is a
minimum...
PvP, so you can consider it single-player.
I mean, you're right. They could have done something like this, but it would have been a little bit different for, like, pacing if you want to play with your friends. Whereas with Xenoblade, playing with your friends and online is a very different, like, mode of the game. But that's a game, I think, that does the whole rewards you for traversing the map a lot very well. It might be a little bit on the grindy side to get your skull to start, but at least when you get it, it feels like, well, damn, now I have to think of things completely differently, as opposed to Anthem, where it's like, just jump, fly. That's it. I don't give a shit. There's no reason for me to land unless, you know, I need to pick up something, or I need to interact, or worst case, which happens all the time, I'm overheating, which is a very real thing that happens quite often in the game. Let's see, where was I again? I lost my train of thought. The team played around with traversal. It was re-added to Anthem several times. There were more like gliding, and members of the Anthem team say it was tough to get the system feeling all that fun. Every time they changed the traversal, it meant changing the world design accordingly, flattening and stretching terrain to accommodate the latest movement style. There were experiments with procedural encounters where dynamic creatures and environmental hazards would spawn randomly in the world, but those weren't working too smoothly either. That took a long time, said one developer. The game was super reliant on this procedural system that just wasn't fun. Uh-oh. Wait a minute. I thought this was a very high hopes studio.
I also need context as to the time frame this occurred. Like, I need to know.
This could happen at any point.
This seems like this happened, like, around late 2014, early 2015.
Yeah, you're right. Early 2015. It's in the next paragraph. So I'm going to assume, based on where he put this, this is like the end of 2014. Like, I don't know. Well, who knows? But it seems like that. The story started changing drastically, too. In early 2015, veteran Dragon Age writer David Geider? Yeah, Geider moved over to Anthem, and his version of the story looked a lot different than the ideas with which they've been experimenting for the past few years. Geider's style was traditional BioWare. Big, complicated villains, ancient alien artifacts, and so on, which rankled some of the developers who were hoping for something more subtle. There was a lot of resistance from the team who just didn't want to see a sci-fi Dragon Age, I guess, said one developer. Added a second, a lot of people were like, why are we telling the same story? Let's do something different. Dun dun dun.
Why are we telling the same story?
Oh yeah, fuck that Mass Effect story. Where was I? When asked for comment on this, Geiger said in an email that when he... Oh, so, okay, this is the first dude they actually name-dropped, by the way. Geiger said in an email that when he started on the project, Anthem design director Preston... Oh, God, I'm going to butcher this. Watamaniuk had pushed him into a science fantasy direction. I was fine with that, as fantasy is more my comfort zone anyhow, but it was clear from the outset that there was a lot of opposition to the change from the rest of the team. I just read this a while ago. I believe earlier they said they didn't want to do typical sci-fi and fantasy, but here we are, they're doing science fiction and fantasy. So, okay, fuck that, I guess. They assumed the idea for it came from me, I'm not sure, but the comments like, it's very Dragon Age, kept coming up regarding any of the work me or my team did, and not in a complimentary manner. There were a lot of people who wanted to say over Anthem's story and kept articulating a desire to do something different without really being clear on what was outside of it, not being anything BioWare had done before, which apparently was a bad thing, question mark? From my perspective, it was rather frustrating. Go.
I hate that argument. It's like, oh, let's do something different, not what you suggested. Okay, what then? I don't know.
Just something.
Figure out. Just not like that. Just not like that game.
Just not like that game, which won, you know, multiple Game of the Year awards.
The one that you guys hated to make, but actually turned out to be a very good game.
Hell, even Mass Effect Mass Effect 2 and 3. Just do that. It's clear this man knows how to write something, right? Just write it. Go. That's not my job. Everyone wanted to say. Oh, you know, when I used to shitpost that BioWare was full of, I don't want to say Tumblrettes, but certain groups of people, I might have been right. I'm gonna let the article speak for me though, because I don't need to. Who cares what I have to say? Geider left BioWare in early 2016. As time
You got
passed,
bullied out.
I didn't feel keen to play the game I was working on. Whoa!
Schadenfreude light, everyone.
I'm the chef. I don't want to eat that fucking food. Well, then why the fuck would I fucking eat it? He told me, which led to new writers for Anthem and a total story reboot. This led to even more chaos. As you can imagine, writing for BioWare sets the foundation for all the games, said one developer. When writing is unsure of what it's doing, it causes a lot of destruction to a lot of departments. And here's more concept art. I think we even went to this area. Cool, anyway. Instability had become par for the course on the Anthem team. As Hudson's departure left a void that proved tough to fill, the job of steering Anthem now fell to the creative leadership team, a group that included John Warner from Disney, like we said earlier, design director Preston Watamaniuk, art director Derek Watts, animation director Parrish Lay, and a handful of other Mass Effect veterans who had been on Anthem since the beginning. Some current and former BioWare employees feel a lot of resentment towards this group, and in interviews, many who worked on Anthem accused the leadership of indecision and mismanagement. The root of all this was that lack of vision, said one former BioWare developer. What are we making? Please tell us. The reoccurring theme was that there was no vision, there was no clarity, there was no single director saying, this is how it all works together. I gotta pause again. They feel resentment towards this group. This is incredible. This is
why you need a lead designer.
This is why you need someone just to be...
No, it's not. You need someone who can say yes and no.
And
People
no,
were like,
end of story.
This is literally
a leader.
Freaking, this is going back to like, oh, what do you want to eat tonight, babe? I don't know.
I don't know.
Like,
I don't fucking know.
I can't do anything with I don't know. I need a freaking content.
Yes, no. Give me an answer right now.
Maybe.
Yes,
What
no.
are you in the mood to eat?
Oh, anything. All right, we're getting tacos. I
All right,
really want
just
tacos.
make it work. Give the consumers what they want. What do they want?
Oh, what do they want? I don't know. Figure it out. They never seem
to suggest something. They say no. Then you're like, well, then what do you want to eat? And they
I don't
can't
know.
tell
Fuck
you.
it. Figure. This is kind of like what I expect WoW to have in a few years. Like someone from WoW will come out and say the same thing. Like, well, oh, there was internal studio culture and they fucked it all up, and nobody liked them at the end of it. I 100% expect World of Warcraft to have this problem at this rate. It seems like a lot of studios kind of have this problem now, where you have a bunch of old heads who have been there forever, and they might have had some cool hits in the past, and some of them really big ones. And now it's 2020.
But it got to their head.
Yeah, it's 2020. They sit on their love seats all day, and they just like can't direct and say, "This is it. End of story. We're sticking with this. Here's why." The end. There's no further discussion. And you want to know what's sad? This makes me give more credit to Yoshi P. Honestly, this
For
man
being
is
both producer and director. Not only does he have to come up with the ideas, he's also got the end of the day to say yes or no to
and
them.
no, and he said that numerous times. Nothing goes
Like,
in
it
that
actually
game
sucks.
without his fucking permission. Everything in that game that exists because he said yes. Now, where on the chart he said yes?
I feel like
Probably
that's pretty
close.
That's pretty part of the course for Japanese companies.
And
No,
look how
he
well
also
that works
comes
for
up with
them.
the ideas. He's both producer and director
Yeah,
for the
he
game.
also does stuff for the game too. He doesn't just.
He
like,
also
say
was
yes
apparently
or-
working on a brand new IP that came out
Oh,
recently.
way
Yoshi
to
P.
spoil that. Episode 109.
Okay.
109. That's like number one on that, by the way. But anyway, let's keep moving because we got. Oh god, we're like a third of the way done. They never seem to settle on anything out of that person. They were always looking for something more, something new, said another. Oh, sorry, yeah, something new. Said another. I think what most people on the team felt like was we didn't know what the game was or what it was supposed to be because it kept changing so much. The most common anecdote relayed to me by current and former BioWare employees was this. A group of developers are in a meeting. They're debating some creative decision, like the mechanics of flying or the lore behind the Scar alien race. Some people disagree on the fundamentals. And then rather than someone stepping up and making a decision on how to proceed, the meeting would just end with no real verdict, leaving everything in flux. That would just happen over and over, said one Anthem developer.
At what point do you just quit? Like, you just say, fuck it.
And a lot of people got there. They left and never came back. As we read from the intro, they just fucking left their job one night and did not return ever. And EA probably took them out back. Anyway, stuff would make it take a year or two to figure out because no one really wanted to make a call on it. Keep in mind, said another Anthem developer, everyone had hard decisions to make that we've never done before. New IP, new genre. No, not really new genre. Let's cool it there. New technology, new style, everything was new. Maybe it's a new genre to them. It's not a new genre for, you know. Borderlands came out in, what, 2010? 2011?
No, genre isn't setting.
I know, but...
Just remember, at this point in time, this game, they didn't want the game to be a...
Yeah. Oh,
no,
well,
they didn't want this game to be a looter shooter. They didn't know what this game was going to be.
Oh, wow. Oh, wait. That makes it even better.
Wait, did I spoil it? No, did you not already read that?
No. It was here. It's here, but then it makes sense why they went with it. It makes sense why they went with looter shooter. Is it going to be a looter shooter? Is it going to be... Damn, so they took the easiest cop-out. Wow. That, you know what that means for that genre, right? It's considered the easiest cop-out. Oh my! I can't see.
It's cop-out, but it's also like the most lucrative.
Yeah, no, you're right. When it's done well, though, even Destiny was able to milk people harder.
Because the biggest complaints I hear about Anthem is that it's a looter shooter. But where's the loot?
I remember saying that about Destiny, and even then, they still gave you something every week.
They gave you a ton of loot. Honestly, Destiny had a...
By comparison,
it was just rare. No, it was just rare, but there was a huge rarity of loot.
Alright, let's see something. The most common anecdote relayed to me by current and former BioWare employees was this. Oh, no, we already read this. Okay, let me scroll down then. Keep in mind, new genre, new tech. Where's my mouse pointer? There it is. Okay. Throughout 2015 and 2016, it appeared to the Anthem team that they were accomplishing very little. They struggled with the online infrastructure. They hadn't figured out how missions would work. And while they had built a few environments and creatures...
This is 2 years before the game came out.
Yeah. Let's reiterate this. This is throughout 2015 and 2016. The game was supposed to launch, I think, in 2018. Finally launched in 2019, February 2019. So this is T-minus 3.5 years, basically. 4 to 3.5 years. They built a few environments and creatures. It wasn't exactly clear on what the basic gameplay might look like. The story was changing constantly, and progress on the game grew sluggish. One early idea was that there would be multiple cities, which eventually turned into one city, and player-created outposts, which eventually turned into one city and a mobile Schreier base, which eventually turned into a single fort. Those early survival ideas melted away. They were still figuring out core parts of the IP, like crafting material Ember, how technology worked, that sort of thing, said one former BioWare employee. The whole back-end architecture and everything wasn't figured out yet.
Stuff that should be done in pre-production.
At the same time, BioWare's studio leadership had to focus much of its attention on Mass Effect Andromeda, a game that was causing headaches for just about everyone, and whose rapidly approaching release date was set in stone. Put it another way, Anthem might have started to look like it was on fire, but Andromeda was already nearly burnt into the ground. Complicating these problems further was the fact that sometimes when the Anthem leadership did make a decision, it could take weeks or even months for them to see it in action. There were a lot of plans, said a developer, where by the time they were implemented, it was a year later and the game had evolved. The explanation for this lag can be summed up in one word, a word that has plagued many of EA's studios for years now, most notably BioWare and the now defunct Visceral Games, a word that can still evoke a mocking smile or a sad grimace from anyone who's ever spent any time with it. That word, of course, is frostbite.
Lol.
Jesus.
This is... I kind of want to give this man $5 for this article. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna click some.
Give him your ad revenue. Give him your ad revenue.
I don't make any ad revenue. If I did, I'd want to give him some.
No, turn off. No, turn off ad block. Turn off that pesky ad block.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Turn off that pesky.
Give him your click.
I'm gonna fucking click on some ads when I'm done with this.
Hey, turn off that pesky ad.
This is fucking sexually arousing. Can I just say that?
This is straight fire.
I am hard right now. This article.
We are actually watching a murder.
Tell me how we're in a timeline where Kotaku is delivering.
Kotaku is delivering harder than anyone else. I like this. I don't know how to feel, and I'm oddly turned on in a very extreme manner. Anyone want to? I kind of just want to jump in. That's a cliffhanger. I don't know, but any thoughts really quickly? Because, all right, good. No thoughts.
I told you.
No, he's right.
I told you.
Sergio has not been wrong yet, at all. And I'm not even going to make fun of him like, oh, but he was wrong here. No, he was fucking right about every single damn thing he said. And I feel so defenseless that I cannot even rebut it in a shit post. But let's continue, because God, I don't want to keep us from this. Ivan, I hope you're having a fun ride, my friend. Frostbite is full of razor blades.
Oh my god.
Said one former BioWare employee told me a few weeks ago, aptly summing up the feelings of perhaps 100 game developers who worked at EA over the past few years. Frostbite is a video game engine, or a suite of technology that is used to make a game, created by the EA-owned Swedish DICE. DICE is involved. They're really going to blame them, too. That's the best part. Wow. In order to make Battlefield shooters, the Frostbite engine became ubiquitous across Electronic Arts this past decade, thanks to an initiative led by former executive Patrick Soderlund to get all of its studios on the same technology. By using Frostbite rather than a third-party engine like Unreal, these studios could share knowledge and save a whole lot of money in licensing fees. BioWare first shifted to Frostbite for Dragon Age Inquisition in 2011, which caused massive problems for that team. Many of the features in those those developers had taken for granted in previous engines, like, I don't know, a save load system, or, I don't know, a third-person camera did not exist in Frostbite. Which meant that the Inquisition team had to build them all from scratch.
That's actually kind of weird, though, because you had third-person view in tanks.
Yeah, in tanks. Yeah, I was just thinking.
Yeah, that's kind of odd, but all right.
Dice over here like, no, fuck no, we made this code. Fuck off, you fucking Dragon Age pansies. Now excuse us while we, drop Battlefield 4 with no bugs on launch, of course. Let's see. Mass Effect Andromeda ran into similar issues. Surely, the third time would be the charm. As it turned out, Anthem was not the charm. Using Frostbite to build an online-only action game, which BioWare had never done before, led to a host of new problems for BioWare's designers, artists, and programmers. Frostbite is like an in-house engine with all the problems that entails. It's poorly documented, hacked together, and so on, with all the problems of an externally sourced engine. Said one now it's all former employees. This shit is getting worse. Nobody you actually work with designed it. So you don't know why this thing works the way it does, or why it's named the way it is. Throughout these early years in development, the Anthem team realized that many of the ideas they originally conceived would be difficult, if not impossible, to create on Frostbite. The engine allowed them to build big, beautiful levels, but it just wasn't equipped with the tools to support all those ambitious prototypes that they'd created. Slowly and gradually, they started cutting back on the environmental and survival features they devised, in large part because they just weren't working. Part of the trouble was that you could do enough in the engine to hack it to show what was possible, but then to get the investment behind it to get it actually done took a lot longer, and in some cases you'd run into a brick wall, said a BioWare developer. Then you'd realize, oh my god, we can only do this if we reinvent the wheel, which is going to take too long. It was sometimes difficult to know when to cut and run. And here's my favorite quote. Frostbite is full of razor blades. There you go. Perfect. Let's get that front and center on the fucking screen. Frostbite is full of razor blades. Very good. Thank you, Soderlund. Really appreciate it. Even today, BioWare developers say Frostbite can make their jobs exponentially more difficult. Building new iterations on levels and mechanics can be challenging due to sluggish tools, while bugs that should only take a few minutes to squash might require days of back-and-forth conversations. If it takes you a week to make a little bug fix, it discourages people from fixing bugs.
Wait, so that means that it's not as much BioWare's fault as we thought.
No, it is. It still is, because once again, keep in mind, listen. They've made 3 games with Frostbite at this point in time.
So it doesn't matter, bro.
No, it does matter.
They have some
broken tools. It doesn't.
No, it's not a different team. They all work in. They
already said they thumbed their nose at the thought of talking to those dirty Andromeda.
That's on. No, but hold on a second. That's on BioWare though. That's not on EA. That's
that part is on BioWare. You're right.
Yeah, but dude,
EA Soderlund made that decision.
Tools, if your pencil is broken and you write 3 papers with it, that doesn't mean.
Then at the same time,
suddenly you can write an amazing paper.
The management should have had the balls to tell Soderlund, no, we cannot make a game.
Yeah, it's a comedy of errors.
You can't be like, no, you cannot make a game because then you don't get paid.
No, we cannot make a game with this engine. This is all you have to say. They didn't have the balls to do it.
They will not freaking say, okay, sure, buddy, what engine do you want to use? No.
That's what the Apex have.
Too bad. Make a game.
This is
That's
this
what
is a
Respawn
true
did.
comedy of error. I mean, well, Respawn can kind of do that because
really think
Respawn wasn't owned by EA.
Oh, that
when
that
they
is a
did
lie.
Titanfall.
Look at Visceral. You really think you have free reign on what engine you want to use?
they didn't even
Hello?
have free reign on what type of game they wanted to make at the end. They were told it needed to be co-op.
You can't just say no.
So I mean, like, I do blame Soderlund. I thought Soderlund just knew about it and he kept quiet and he just disappeared. That's kind of fucked up.
I mean, hold on a second. If the upper management says, yeah, we can make a game, that's all Soderlund has to go by. Like, if they say we can make it, because again, they talk about it later on.
Yeah, it's the old heads.
Yeah,
And
no
plus
spoilers.
Plus, the devs might say one thing. I mean, the upper echelon might say one thing, but they really can't. It's just
But that's what they tell them.
Well-
If I tell someone I can make an AI that can instantly solve all the world's problems, and I say with absolute certainty I will get this done by this date, they're gonna pay me to do it. And if I don't do it, they're gonna be like, "Where's my AI? Where's my AI?" Like,
But what kills... So, really what it is it's a comedy of errors. There's a lot of shit going on wrong here that just was never at any point grasped by the reins and tried to be salvaged. You have EA and Soderlund's EA, by the way, making a really boneheaded, stupid decision. You have the old heads at BioWare who had access to this game that a lot of their underlings didn't really even know shit about. Didn't know what type of game it was, couldn't even see it, couldn't play test it, couldn't do anything. You have them just sort of saying, yeah, we could do it, and we're going to rely on this age-old boomer magic where we can, like, basically piece... Because that's what it is. Because it's really what it is. It's like some age-old fucking, oh, well, we'll just, magic it together at the end of the day.
no, it doesn't work. At the end of the day, smiles and friendship will persevere.
Could you find that picture, by the way? Hold on, let me drag this guy.
But my point is that if upper echelon says they can make a game, and they can't really make a game, it's just upper echelon saying, "Oh yeah,"
and everyone else gets to pay for it.
There's a lot of times where management is just retarded.
I mean, yeah, no, but yeah, you're right. But guess what? That still falls on BioWare.
I think it also falls on EA too. I think it partially does. Because clearly something was wrong, and they didn't ask any questions.
Yeah, they didn't care. They
didn't
said,
give a shit.
Keep using our same.
It's like when
you don't really care.
It's like when your parent is like saying, "Hey, you got that errand done?" like for 5 months, and just never once checks in and is like, "Well, okay, you have how much done? Like, let's just show me. Let me just see. Like, you got a couple paragraphs, you got 5 lines, you got maybe a word." No, I don't even think they sharpened the pencil at this point. This is 2016. Their head director has left.
I mean, I get that, but at the same time, though, it's like, bro, you gave me a freaking broken utensils to use. I can't freaking eat with this, so I'm not gonna use it. Like, a lot of the time, you're probably just not gonna freaking do anything because you don't want to use broken pencils. Like, there's a lot of times I don't want to play a video game because I have so low of a frame rate. There's no point in playing. Like, it's not fun.
What's going on, by the way?
He's trying to get his thing connected, I think. But it's whatever. That's not coming on the recording, I don't think. I mean, I think again, that's kind of the thing I'm getting here is it's a huge comedy of errors from all sides. Everyone making a fucking mistake, and unfortunately, the people who are really suffering the most are not the old heads who are still going to work at BioWare till the day that EA takes it out back for the final time. It's going to be the dudes who are having the mental breakdowns. It's going to be the dudes who have to leave and never come back because they have no clue what the fuck they're doing. It's going to be the dudes who are pouring time and life and effort and energy into trying to make this game work somehow according to some vision by 6 boomers who have no clue what the fuck is going on anymore. And it's their fault.
Yes, they procrastinated, but I can see why they procrastinated.
I could see why these other people left, and I know I was laughing at the whole story. It's ridiculous to read because it never should happen. But I do feel like these upper echelon of people fucking misled these dudes off a cliff, and now we're reading about how they were walked off a fucking cliff by a bunch of people who just assumed magic would happen. No, I do think that BioWare is at fault as a whole.
Well, I know BioWare is at fault, but I'm talking more about the devs. The devs last minuted it because, one, their freaking bosses don't care or don't listen to them, and then they have to work with the broken system. So, of course, if I'm a dev, I'm not going to freaking bust my ass. These guys literally don't care about me, and they usually don't even listen to what I'm saying. they're like, yeah, we can make games, and they're not the ones making the games. Like, yeah, maybe the upper echelon of BioWare is at fault, but I'm talking mainly about the devs. I'm talking about the dudes who literally make the games and didn't do anything because they were tired of using a shitty system and having freaking shitty management with no leadership.
Oh yeah, and then all these boomers who sat around and relied on their, like, 1950s, I'm gonna get into Harvard magic, none of them could make a hard decision to save the fucking game's life, or to save their studio, or to just make their workers' lives easier. They all just sat around and bumblefucked their way through this fucking thing from start to finish. Oh, hold on, I gotta... Well, I forget that I put a channel limit on this fucking thing. Let me set it to infinite. Because that's kind of dumb. But, yeah, let's keep going, I guess, because, this is, we getting somewhere, I guess. Here we go. If you can hack around it, okay. If it takes you a week to make a little bug fix, it discourages people from fixing bugs. If you can hack around it, you hack around it as opposed to fixing it properly. Set a second. I would say the biggest problem I had with Frostbite was how many steps you needed to do something basic. With another engine, I could do something myself, maybe with a designer. Here, it's a complicated thing. It's hard enough to make a game, said a third BioWare developer. It's really hard to make a game where you have to fight over your own tool set all the time. From the beginning, Anthem's senior leadership made the decision to start from scratch for a large part of the game's technology, rather than use all the systems the company had built for Andromeda and Inquisition. Part of this may have been the desire to stand
Now, hold on a second. Let's talk about that for a second. Remember when I said that it wasn't completely EA's fault? They had the experience done. They literally said, oh, whatever experience we came up with the tools, why do we need
for the last major game they worked on, right? Like, if you want to say, like, Andromeda was developed side by side, at least you could argue that Inquisition took place before this game was really seriously like a thing beyond just like a plaything. You needed a password to get into the wiki, and that's all in this article, by the way. So at least you could say, well, maybe they could just salvage the Inquisition engine and then just figure out from there. No, fuck it. Those dirty Andromeda peasants, fuck them. They don't know anything about making a game. And in continuing, part of this may have been a desire to...
I'm saying, like,
go.
It seems time and time and again that the developers are just getting shafted. Like, and so when they finally comes down to, hey, listen, we need you to make a good game, they're like, well, I'm just gonna last minute. Because it seems like none of the projects they're really, like, that they're working on, upper management and EA just don't care about them.
Can I really quickly point out one thing, though? I would feel so terribly awful if this wasn't an EA company. I'm sorry, like, even if you, like, I know these are people, you know, I feel bad for the little people who are just grunt work, basically. All you higher-ups and all you other people, I don't feel sorry for you. I especially don't feel sorry for EA if you go belly up tomorrow. It's fucking Electronic Arts. Since it has been 100 episodes of this motherfucking show, and we are still talking about the dumb shit that EA does 6 years into the future. Actually, is it 6 years? Yeah, 6 years into the future. It's been 100 episodes. I'm not exaggerating. Go back to episode 8. It's a long fucking time ago. I'm still shitting on these fucks for dumb shit that they do. And they always top it, too. They always find a fucking way to top what they do the last time. And that's what floors me about this company. I don't know any company that burrows its way to shitville and keeps digging and doesn't just get consumed by it. I don't know any fucking company that does this.
This is what I was going back, what I said before. That my mom / dad always say, like, literally no one knows what anyone is doing out here. No one. People do not know how to freaking collaborate between departments. Leadership heads are constantly changing. Nobody knows what's going on. Half the time, and that's literally what happened here. No one knew what was happening.
And EA just set a deadline and is like, yo, you're gonna have a project? And they were like, yeah, the old heads, fucking South Park dudes laying on their futon. I mean, obviously they might have been doing work, but clearly not enough. But I'm just making the South Park analogy where it's just like they're just laying on their fucking sofas like, yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll put the Mass Effect 1 grease into the wheel. And no, it didn't work. You can't rely on a rabbit's foot every single time to bail you out of trouble. Every single time. According to this, every single one of their games, they have a history of this shit. But let's continue, because we'll be here all fucking
night. And once again, to the point where it's that, hey, can it this one time just not fucking
just
work.
not, yeah. That's it.
Please.
That's enough to sink you. Believe it or not, 2 times in a row is a really bad thing. Okay, let's see. From the beginning, they made the decision to start from scratch rather than use all the systems they had. Part of this may have been a desire to stand out from those other teams, so again, nose thrumming. But another explanation was simple. Anthem was online, the other games were not. The inventory system they had designed for Dragon Age on Frostbite might not stand up in an online game, so the Anthem team figured they'd need to build a new one. Towards the end of the project, we started complaining, said one developer. Maybe we would have gone further if we had the Dragon Age Inquisition stuff, but we're also just complaining about the lack of manpower in general. It often felt to the Anthem team like they were understaffed, according to that developer and others who worked on the game. Many of whom told me their team was a fraction of the size of developers behind similar games like Destiny and The Division.
Oh, those words are verboten. Can't say those words.
There were a number of reasons for this. One was that in 2016, the FIFA games had to move to Frostbite. The annual soccer franchise was EA's most important series, bringing in a large chunk of the publisher's revenue, and BioWare had programmers with Frostbite experience, so EA shifted them to FIFA.
And we're going back to the original point.
This is visceral shit.
I think that this is the whole thing behind this. I'm sorry, I think BioWare's at fault, but I think this is mainly EA. And what is the reason? And like that dude said, one word, Frostbite. This is the only reason why this is happening.
Yeah, that would be totally EA's fault.
You have to shift manpower. Games are constantly changing on the fly to accommodate a broken and terrible system. They can make, like, look. And the reason why I say this is because look at the tools that DayZ uses. Standalone is still using the broken old Bohemia system, and that's why DayZ Standalone takes forever, because it's a dated system that doesn't work.
This one would be.
Well, no, hold on a second. No, I disagree with that. The Bohemian system doesn't work for DayZ because Bohemian Interactive, the system they're using for DayZ.
No, dude. They scrapped the Arma 2 system.
No, it's not just that. DayZ literally runs off of a fucking flight simulator.
Yeah, but my point is that literally the old Arma system, the old Arma basically dev kit, whatever, is garbage. That's literally why Arma 3 doesn't use it, and why Arma 3 is a vastly superior game, and that can change itself on the fly, because it's not using a dated system. Again, if you have freaking bad tools, you're not going to be able to make a good game.
Irregardless,
I don't think Frostbite though is a bad engine to use for what Anthem is trying to be. I really do not think.
No freaking.
But there was no way in hell they would figure this out.
No, there is a third-person camera though. There is a third-person camera.
Yeah,
again,
apparently
it's
not a very.
I don't know what they're talking about. I don't know. But again, I think the biggest issue comes from the fact that whatever they learned from the other games, they decided to just say, yeah, we're not going to use it anymore.
Yeah, and I wonder who made that decision. The old heads. I guarantee you, the new dudes just said right here, if we had used the Inquisition stuff as a basis, maybe we would have done better. Maybe if they didn't take half of our or whatever amount of our people who had Frostbite experience and move them to FIFA, maybe we might have survived. That one is on EA. This one is 100% on EA. Because the EA sniped them, just like they sniped people from Danger Close to work on Battlefield whatever, and then they killed Medal of Honor. Just like how they took people from Visceral, and then they sniped them into other places. This is not the first time EA's done this to studios.
Because, like, if you have, like, I don't know, an annoying teacher who's just bad at teaching, I don't write papers for them when they're due. I don't freaking, like, go out of my way to make a good product when the person above me is an asshole. And EA...
And I mean, even if you could, you're fucked. How could you when they're saying you can do a billion things? You don't even know what the fucking toolkit is. You don't know what the scope of what you can do is, let alone what you need to do, because nobody can make the decision and nobody explained it to them. So the poor fucking grunts on the field just dying on this hill. And I don't know what to say. So I'll just keep reading this, I guess.
Mainly, BioWare has fault. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend that they don't have faults.
But this
I
is a
think
pretty
lot
big
of
thing for EA to do.
Yeah,
it's
like,
pretty
they're
fucked
just
up.
moving development
For their next
moving
big
guys
project, by the
constantly
way.
to I mean, yeah, maybe the upper echelon devs at BioWare were retarded, but again, you're not gonna be, even if you're an upper echelon dev, you're not gonna tell EA, I can't make your game on your engine. They're gonna be like, alright, fine, goodbye.
Just remember, beloved games like Andromeda and Hardline and Mirror's Edge Catalyst probably had more secure, stable dev times than their newest, biggest project. And I think EA might have sniped these people not knowing how bad it really was. And that's I think, the other problem. I think that...
Because, again, if upper management had fought saying, yeah, no, you cannot take our devs. Like, again, this would not have happened.
And this is what we have, like, which is basically nothing. I think that part of it is that they just... It was elitism. I really do believe. But anyway, moving on. A lot of the really talented engineers that were actually working on FIFA when they should have been working on Anthem, said one person who was on the project. There was also the fact that BioWare's main office is located in Edmonton, a place where winters can dip to -20 or even -40 degrees Fahrenheit, which staff says has always made it difficult to recruit veterans from more habitable cities. One also has to wonder, how many programmers heard about Frostbite's razor blades and decided to shy away? When a BioWare engineer had questions or wanted to report bugs, they usually have to talk to EA Central Frostbite team, a group of support staff that worked with all of the publisher studios. Within EA, it was common for studios to battle for resources like the Frostbite team's time, and BioWare would usually lose those battles, probably to DICE.
Literally going so even more. So when you want to address a bug or issue,
that's it. You're fucked. DICE is going to win. As I said, DICE is always going to win.
They don't even.
No, it's actually not DICE. It's FIFA's going to win. FIFA's going to win.
Well, yeah, that too.
FIFA's going to win because it's their biggest cash cow.
Or Battlefront, yeah,
that
because
just proves that this is basically
Battlefront is made by DICE.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like between FIFA and DICE.
I don't blame BioWare's.
No, I do blame BioWare a lot. I know, because again, all this comes from their management not pushing hard enough. If they had gone to
it's the upper heads, but still,
this is literally our old school situation. Not having enough parts and being like, well, you got to finish this project. What do you mean I got to finish this project? Oh, there are not enough resources here. Too bad. Fight for them.
Yeah, fight for what little table scraps remain.
No, to be fair, no, hold on a second. But we took it upon ourselves to say, you know what?
To steal from other people.
Let's go to the room next door that has more parts and use those.
Steal it, yeah. So
and steal it.
Yeah, but my point is that they're a company. You can't just be
You're
like,
also
let's just steal from them.
talking about physical things.
Yeah,
They're
and
lacking in
what are you gonna
software.
do? You have to deal with bugs and stuff on their system. What are you gonna do? Who are you gonna steal from? It's their system.
It's their time. You need to consult them in order to make sure that you have what you need. There's no other way around it.
Answer. Dude, again, I don't blame BioWare for procrastinating under these scenarios.
I kind of blame the upper heads.
Also,
I don't.
You can't
lower heads,
really say, hey, just tell them no. You don't tell EA no. What the fuck do you mean? Like,
yeah, I remember a lot of studios that told EA yes and still got fucked over.
I don't understand why you think they have a choice.
Yeah.
They told EA yes in a lot of
liberties
cases.
Here
and
that
they got
you really
fucked.
don't have. That's why these people are going freaking crazy, because they don't.
They have no.
Any
They can't get the fucking higher ups to who might actually be able to make a fight because they just keep saying, "Oh, Magic will make it work." They can't get EA to fucking respond to them because EA doesn't give a shit. And then the Frostbite team is, they have. Let's think. In the last 5 years, Battlefield 1, technically Hardline was around that time too. 5. Battlefront 1, Battlefront 2, you have the 5 FIFA games in that time, you have the 5 Madden games in that time, and not to mention all the other little shitty projects like Mirror's Edge, Inquisition, boy, there's a lot of them, less and less games every fucking year, but I still can't name any of them. Dead Space 3 maybe somewhere, I don't know, whatever, fuck it. Yeah, I don't know. After all, role-playing games brought in a fraction of the revenue of a FIFA or a Battlefront. The amount of support you get at EA or Frostbite is based on how much money your studio's game is going to make, said one developer. All of BioWare's best-laid technological plans could go awry if they weren't getting the help they expected. No matter how many people were involved, one thing about Frostbite would always remain consistent, as it did on Dragon Age Inquisition and Mass Effect Andromeda. It made everything take longer than anyone thought it should. We're trying to make this this huge procedural world, but we're constantly fighting Frostbite because that's not what it's designed to do, said one developer. Things like baking the lighting can take 24 hours. If we're making changes to a level, we have to go through another bake process. It's a very complex process. Frostbite's razor blades were buried deeply inside the Anthem team, and would prove impossible to stop the bleeding. I'm just gonna keep going, just so we can make some headway here. By the end of 2016, Anthem had been in some form of pre-production for roughly 4 years. After this, much time in a more typical video game development cycle, it would have entered production, the point in a project when the team has a full vision of what they're making and can actually start building out the game. Some who were working on Anthem say that's when they started feeling like they were in trouble, like the game was screwed, like they would soon have to face the same sort of last-minute production crunch that their co-workers were suffering on Andromeda. Yet word came down from leadership that everything would work out. It was time for BioWare magic. You had to just throw your prior knowledge out and either go in blind faith or just hope that things were going to turn out well, said one person who was there. A lot of the veterans, guys who had only ever worked at BioWare, they said everything is going to be fine in the end. It was really hard on people who just couldn't go on that blind faith, I suppose. One former BioWare developer said that they and some of their co-workers would bring up these concerns to directors only to be ignored. You'd come to management saying, we're seeing... Let me finish this one paragraph. This is one paragraph. They'd air these concerns to directors only to be ignored. You'd come to management saying, look, we're seeing the same problems on Inquisition and Andromeda where the design wasn't figuring things out. It's getting really late in the project and the core of the game isn't defined. Basically saying, hey, the same mistakes are happening again. Did you guys see this last time? Can you stop this? Said the developer. They'd be quite dismissive about it. All right.
Okay, yeah, this, you know what this sounds like? Fire Festival.
Oh, shit. Yeah, it is, kinda. We don't know what Fire Festival is, we just know we have a bunch of tents on some random island that's not even the island we advertised on. And we're just gonna send people there. And then we don't know what the fuck's gonna happen when they get there. It's just gonna happen, and then that's the end of it. And look what happened with those dudes. Poor fucking Ja Rule. But to be fair, who the fuck gives a fuck what Ja Rule has to say at a time like this? Am I right? Over the months, Anthem had begun naturally picking up ideas and mechanics from looters. Yeah, that's a Chappelle reference. It's a bad one, I know. Anthem had naturally begun picking up ideas and mechanics from loot shooters like The Division and Destiny. Well, and this is where we begin to seal the fate. Although even mentioning the word Destiny was taboo at BioWare.
Verboten. Can't say it.
Wow. Diablo 3 was the preferred reference point. Okay, but mentioning Destiny was taboo. And you know how much we love Destiny at this podcast. Almost as much as Overwatch. A few people who worked on the game said that they're trying to make comparisons to Destiny would elicit negative reactions from studio leadership. We were told quite definitively, this isn't Destiny, said one developer, but it kind of is. What you're describing is beginning to go into that realm. They didn't want to make those correlations, but at the same time, when you're talking about fire teams going off and doing raids together, about gun combat, spells, things like that, well, there's a lot of elements there that correlate, that cross over. Because leadership didn't want to discuss Destiny, that developer added, they found it hard to learn from what Bungie's loot shooter did well. We need to be looking at... I said this when we were doing the fucking playthrough. They felt like they wanted to make Destiny and they didn't find what Destiny did wrong and fix it. I literally... This is... I hate being this way.
Remember when I was saying that? Like, it feels like...
Dude, you're right.
This goes back to the whole thing. Why are certain words taboo there? You literally need to learn from other companies so that you don't make their mistakes. Like,
I think the biggest issue is because they didn't want this game to be a looter shooter, just happened to become a looter shooter at the end.
Yeah, but the point is, like, we're not 5. You need to accept that you're making Destiny, and we need to freaking get this game working.
Well, they're idiots. I mean, they're clearly not the smartest people in the bunch.
Playing baby's freaking first video game out here, and then want to make a good game. You're gonna clearly... Dude, like, the point is, you're going to make something that's already been made. So you might as well learn from it.
No.
No way you're gonna completely reinvent the wheel at this age in video game. For whatever you make will be freaking referenced to something.
No, they're special at EA. I mean at BioWare, apparently. And guess who thought they were so special? Seems like this has been a reoccurring thing. We need to be looking at games like Destiny because they're the market leaders, the developer said. They're the guys who have been doing these things best. We should be absolutely looking at how they're doing things. As an example, the developer brought up the unique feel of Destiny's large variety of guns, something that Anthem seemed to be lacking, in large part because it was being built by a bunch of people who had mostly made RPGs. We didn't really have the design skill to be able to do that, they said. There just wasn't the knowledge base to be able to develop that kind of diversity. One long-standing BioWare tradition is for their teams to build demos that the staff could all take home during Christmas break, and it was Anthem's turn during the Christmas of 2016. By this point, BioWare's leadership had decided to remove flying from the game. This is 2016, literally the end of 2016, by the way. They just couldn't figure out how to make it feel good, so the Christmas build took place all on flat terrain. You'd run through a farm and shoot some aliens, but some on the team thought it was successful as a proof of concept, while others at BioWare said that it felt dull and looked mundane. In the beginning of 2017, a few important things happened. In early March, Mass Effect Andromeda launched, freeing up the bulk of BioWare staff to join Anthem, including most of BioWare's Austin office. The Montreal office began to quietly wind down and close, and eventually close, leaving BioWare as two entities rather than three. And I think I actually said something like this around that time too. I said they have a big project coming up and they closed one of their major offices. There's a lot of writing on this fucking wall. It's looking like a subway tunnel at this point. It's kind of sad. It really is. At around the same time, Electronic Arts executive Patrick Soderlund, to whom BioWare's leadership reported, played the Anthem Christmas demo. According to 3 people... Did he retire because of this? I would love this. Hold on, let me read this. Let me get this nice and front and center. According to 3 people familiar with what happened, he told BioWare that it was unacceptable. Soderlund did not respond to a request for comment. He was particularly disappointed by the graphics. Of course you were. By the graphics, he said. He said, "This is not what you had promised me as a game," said one person who was there. Then, those developers said, Soderlund summoned a group of high-level BioWare staff to fly out to Stockholm, Sweden, and meet with developers at DICE, the studio behind Battlefield and Frostbite. DICE would later bring a strike team to help out BioWare with Frostbite kinks and make Anthem look prettier. That's what they said.
This is in 2017, by the way. So at this point, they have
about less than 2 years.
24 months. About slightly less than 2 years to make a game.
And they have nothing virtually. They have a flat farm where you shoot aliens.
Making a game in 24 months.
No, I know. Yeah, it's not impossible. But at this point, they have a flat farm, no real ideology, and the main element of the game, which is flying, is still not in the game. It's removed, actually. It was time for a new build. What began was 6 weeks of pretty much significant crunch to do a demo specifically for... What began was 6 weeks of pretty significant crunch to do a demo specifically for Patrick Soderlund, said one member of the team. They overhauled the art, knowing the best way to impress Soderlund would be to make a demo that looked as pretty as possible. After some heated arguments, the Anthem team decided to put flying back in. For years, the Anthem team had gone back and forth about the flying mechanic. It had been cut and re-added several times in different forms. In some iterations, it was more of a glide, and for a while the idea was only one exosuit class would be able to fly. On one hand, the mechanic was undeniably cool. What better way to feel like Iron Man than to zip around the world in a giant robot suit? On the other hand, it kept breaking everything. Few open-world games allowed for that kind of vertical freedom, and for good reason. If you could fly everywhere, then the entire world needed to accommodate that. The artist wouldn't be able to throw up mountains or walls to prevent players from jumping off the boundaries of the planet. Plus, the Anthem team worried that if you could fly, you'd blaze past the game's environments rather than stopping to explore and check out the scenery. And by the way, Xenoblade solved all this in 2015. Just want to throw that one out there.
They don't play no Wii game.
Oh, the fucking Wii U.
Games to see how they
stupid fucking Nintendo and the fucking Wii U. What would they know? What's Xenoblade's Metacritic? Probably at least a mid-80. What's Andromeda's? Or not Andromeda.
As I said in the comments I left, they wanted the Breath of the Wild audience without actually realizing why Breath of the Wild wanted.
Yeah, why Breath of the Wild works as a game. They should have hired Monolith. I think Monolith
honestly, unironically, Monolith would have been like. Now, Monolith is only recently first party. They recently got.
Yeah, they recently Nintendo knew what they were doing. I mean, listen, you pay them a lot of money and they make you a good game, or you sit with this shit. For
and then they learn how to use Frostbite and whatnot. They would have been like, they would have jumped at the opportunity to work for a company like
yeah, that would have been pretty good for them. Yeah, but
would have been amazing for them.
Those fucking Nintendo developers, what do they know? Game Freak. It's not like Pokemon is a multi-trillion-dollar franchise or some shit.
Game Freak doesn't know a lot of things.
I know, but they make money, okay? Everyone likes money. These people ain't making fucking money right now. They're losing money. They're bleeding it. And they should be grateful that Respawn showed up with a free game for them to milk. But that's another entirely separate fucking thing I'm not getting into. Let's see. The leadership team's most recent decision had been to remove flying, but they needed to impress Soderlund, and flying was the only mechanic they built that made Anthem stand out from other games. I gotta answer this in a minute, so at the next break I'll do that. So they eventually decided to put it back. This re-implementation of flying took place over a week. It took place over a weekend, according to two people who worked on the game, and it just wasn't clear whether they were doing it permanently or as a show for Soderlund. We were like, well, that's not in the game. Are we adding it for real, said one developer. They were like, well, we'll see. One day in the spring of 2017, so T-minus 2 years, by the way, Soderlund flew out to Edmonton and made his way over to the BioWare offices, entourage in tow. The Anthem team had completely overhauled the art and re-added flying, which they had hoped would feel sufficiently impressive, but tensions were high in the wake of the last demo's disappointment and Andromeda's high-profile failure. There was no way to know what would happen if Soderlund again disapproved of the demo. Would the project get cancelled? Would BioWare be in trouble? I mean, at that point, that would be a happy thing to fucking have happen, to be honest with you. Just cancel it and just take the fucking hit. One of our QA people had been playing it over and over again so they could get the flow and timing down perfectly. Within 30 seconds or so, the Exo jumps off and glides this precipice and lands. And according to two people who were in the room, Patrick Soderlund was stunned. He turns around and goes, "That was fucking awesome. Show it to me again." I would love that sound clip. One person was there. He was like, "That is amazing. It's exactly what I wanted." Just wanted to throw that one out there real quick in case you were confused. This demo became the foundation for a 7-minute gameplay trailer that BioWare showed the public a few weeks later. In June of 2017, just a few days after that last-minute name change from Beyond to Anthem, BioWare boss Aaron Flynn took the stage of we should watch this. I'm not going to watch it tonight, but I should actually watch this. Literally, I want to analyze this man's face and see how stressed he is announcing this game that he just changed the name like probably a few days prior. But anyway, the next day at Microsoft's press conference, they showed a demo that helped everyone, including BioWare's own developers, finally see how Anthem would play. What the public didn't know was that even then, Anthem was still in pre-production. Progress had been so slow that the demo was mostly guesswork, team members say, which is why the Anthem that actually launched looks so drastically different from the demo that the team showed at E3 2017. In the real game, you have to go through a mission select menu and a loading screen before you can leave Fort Tarsis. In the demo, it all happened seamlessly. The demo was full of dynamic environments, giant creatures, and mechanics that bear little resemblance to the final product, like getting to see new loot when you pick it up rather than having to wait until the end of a mission. After E3, that's when it all really felt like, okay, this is the game we're making. But it still felt like it took a while to get the entire team up to speed. It was also kind of tricky because there were still a lot of questions. The demo was not actually built properly. A lot of it was fake. No. The next four words. The next four words. Those four fucking words. If you're following, you see them. You know why I'm fucking rock solid right now.
I want to know what it is. I'm not following.
Okay. I'm going to reread it. It was also tricky because there was still a lot of question marks. The demo was not actually built properly. A lot of it was fake, like most E3 demos.
Dude,
and this
they
is
just threw the entire industry under the bus.
There's no E3 anymore. This is it.
Basically at the Ubisoft freaking.
Yeah, the Far Cry 3 thing. Yeah. He's over there. He's over there.
division downscaling / freaking massive changes. Watch Dogs. Oh
yeah, it's literally Ubisoft, but now EA does it. Look at this. They didn't even know.
I just think that it's funny is that most of the demo was fake.
Let's see, where was I? There was a lot of stuff that was like, okay, are we actually doing this? Do we have the tech for that? Do we have the tools for that? To what end can you fly? How big should the world be? The abilities and all that were still getting decided, said another developer. Nothing was set in stone at that point at all. Said a third, going out of pre-production is never really a crisp thing. You have to look at the altitude of the team, or the attitude of the team and what they're doing. The fact of the matter is, fundamental things were not yet figured out. At E3 2017, BioWare announced that Anthem would launch, I knew it, I fucking knew it, at fall 2018. Behind the scenes, however, they had barely even implemented a single mission.
Read the year again? Read the year again?
I'm going to read the whole paragraph again. At E3 2017, when they announced this game for the first time with a name, which was changed last minute,
and a date,
announced that it would launch fall 2018. This is a year and a half prior to their original launch date. They didn't even have almost a single mission implemented, and they barely even knew. They basically had a demo that Patrick Soderlund said was fucking awesome. I could show you a lot of crazy shit. Randy Pitchford could show you a girl who's really fucking awesome. That doesn't mean it'll sell, but whatever. They found out the hard way. More fucking Schadenfreude for me. I don't give a shit. I don't work at EA. I'll never work at EA if they find these in this shit, but it's okay. They can keep their shitty blood money. And people always ask me, why don't you love tech and you play video games, why don't you work for the video game?
Because no, it's just in general, computer science, DevOps, everything is crunch. It is cancer.
It is the worst, and I would never do it. I would be so strapped for cash. It would, I don't know, man. I'm not going to get into that, how fucking ridiculous it is. Well, let's just move on. Until very recently, hardcore BioWare... Oh, now we get into the fan part? Oh, this is going to be awesome. This is where shit's going to get real spicy. Until very recently, hardcore BioWare fans used to refer to the studio's various teams using derogatory tiers. Oh, it's toxic. Okay, this is the little bit of Kotaku coming through. There was the A team, the B team, and the C team. Opinions on which have varied on which was which, but in general, the A team referred to the original BioWare, the office in Edmonton, Canada, which was responsible for Dragon Age and Mass Effect trilogy. A couple miles to the southeast was the B team, a studio, a couple thousand miles, by the way, was the B team, a studio in Austin, Texas, which was founded to make the Old Republic. Oh, God, the Tortanic. And then the C team usually refers to Montreal, the ill-fated studio behind Mass Effect Andromeda. What fans might not have realized was that even within BioWare, some people thought the same way. Anthem is the game you get from a studio that is at war with itself, said one former BioWare developer. Edmonton understandably has the perspective of, we are the original BioWare. Anyone not a part of that brand is lesser and does not garner the same level of trust as people that are in the Edmonton office. So I think that's a bit of the issue there. After shipping the Old Republic in 2011 and continuing to cultivate and support it, Tortanic, by the way, BioWare Austin started a few of its own projects. There was Shadow Realms, a 4v1 multiplayer game that was announced in the summer of 2014. There was Saga, which was a multiplayer open Star Wars game in early development for a few months. And then there was a dream of a new KOTOR game, which some at BioWare Austin staffers say was always dangled as a possibility, but never really came close to getting off the ground. By the end of 2014, those projects were all canceled, and BioWare had enacted a wave initiative that it called One BioWare. Am I reading about the formation of the Galactic Empire or a fucking video game studio at this point? A plan designed to get many of the company's studios working in tandem. Many of BioWare Austin staff moved on to Dragon Age Inquisition downloadable content and then to Mass Effect Andromeda. And by early 2017, as we already said, around the time Soderlund was demanding to see that new demo, most of BioWare Austin was officially on Anthem, helping with just about every department, from cinematics to storytelling. Anthem's lack of vision within Edmonton was even more pronounced in Austin, whose developers suddenly found themselves working on a game they didn't quite understand. Was it an online loot shooter like Destiny, or was it more of a role-playing game? Yeah, the D word, which you can't even say at Edmonton. Which, how do you get around the world? How would the missions look like? One of the things we struggled with was we didn't understand the game concept, said one former BioWare Austin developer. When Anthem was presented to us, it was never really clear what the game was. They were still finding the vision for the game, said a second. I saw multiple presentations given to the entire studio trying to define what Anthem was about. The Hollywood elevator pitch version of Anthem, when we talk about Anthem, what we mean is X. I saw many variations of that over time, and it was indicative of how much conflict there was over trying to find a vision for this game, and over how many people were struggling to have their vision become the one that won out. Let's see, one of the things we struggled with, we didn't understand the game concept. Yeah, we know that. So, just to... I won't scroll, here we go. Just to clarify, you have a bunch of dumb motherfuckers fighting over a pile of shit that is due in a year and a half, and they don't have anything done. So I wonder how that worked out for them. All right, let's find out. Even when they did figure out what was... I have to take a break like that. I have to preface it like that, because you got to be fucking stupid at this point. You just... there was a whole segment of this, which is like the leadership, the higher-ups, the this, the that. Oh, God. We're going to have a special shit show shout-out at the end of this, by the way. Because I'm going to scroll back up and we're going to name drop them again. Just so everyone knows who the fuck these 6 people are. That the rest of Edmonton hated them. And Austin didn't even know what the fuck anyone in Edmonton thought about anything. And Montreal closed because, you know, Andromeda was kind of terrible. Let's see. Even when they did figure out what was happening... Okay, no problem. Even when they did figure out what was happening, it felt to BioWare Austin staff like they were the grunts. Oh my... I'm winning all day, every day, dude. Holy shit. Developers who worked in both Austin and Edmonton say the messaging was that Edmonton would come up with the vision and Austin would execute on it, which caused tensions between the two studios. BioWare Austin developers recall offering feedback only to get dismissed or ignored by BioWare Edmonton's senior leadership team, a process which was particularly frustrating for those who had already shipped a big online game, Tortanic. Wait a minute. No, you know what? Let's keep going, because if we stop, we're going to fucking talk about this for an hour. Let's keep fucking going. And learn from its mistakes. One developer described it as a culture clash between a group of developers in Edmonton who were used to making single-player box product games and a group of developers in Austin who knew how to make online service games. We tell them, this is not going to work. Look, these story things you're doing, it's going to split up player experience, said an Austin developer. We'd already been through all of it with the Old Republic. We knew what it was like when players felt they were getting rushed through story missions because other players were in their headsets going, come on, it's main scenario roulette. Come on, let's go. So we knew all these things, and we'd bring it up repeatedly, and we were ignored. After the E3 reveal in June, I can't even read. In June of 2017, the Anthem teams in Edmonton and Austin were meant to start moving into full production, designing missions and building a world based on the vision they could now at least somewhat see. But that didn't happen, developers say. They've been in Ideal Land for 4 to 5 years, and nobody had actually gone, okay, well, we need to decide what we're making and make it, said one member of the team. They were still going back to the drawing board on major systems. Which is fine. Part of the game development is you iterate, and it's like, this didn't work, let's go again. They never got to the point of, this didn't work, or this doesn't work, let's iterate on it. It was, this doesn't work, let's start from scratch. The story was still in... This doesn't stop, holy shit. We're like 2/3 of the way down. It's been like almost 2 hours. I'm going to the end, I don't give a shit. The story was still in flux under new narrative director James Olin, who would also leave BioWare before Anthem shipped. And design was moving particularly slowly, with systems like mission structure, loot, and exo powers still not finalized. A number of veteran BioWare developers began leaving the studio that summer, and the untimely death of Corey Gasper, one of the game's lead designers, left a massive hole in that department. That does kind of suck. I've seen that happen to a few studios, and it does kind of hurt them a lot in the end, which it's unfortunate. Core features like loading and saving, oh Christ, still hadn't been implemented into the game. I'm sorry, what year is this? Hold on. after this is June of 2017, so this is like the summer of 2017. Still no saving and loading in the game. You'd think the most basic thing in a video game is I'm gonna stop now and I want to continue later. They didn't have that. It just didn't exist.
Yeah.
Alright, still hadn't been implemented, and it became difficult to playtest builds because they were riddled with bugs. I'm never gonna bitch about 14 again. Never again. That they killed that today. Thank you. It came time to move from pre-production to production in June. Alright. June comes, we're still in pre-production. July, August, what the heck's going on?
What the heck?
Anthem leadership team and some other veterans continue to talk about BioWare magic, but it was clear to a lot of people that something was wrong. They had publicly committed to a fall 2018 ship date, but that had never been realistic. Start over. Start that fucking sentence over. They publicly committed to a fall 2018 ship date, but that had never been realistic. Publisher EA also wouldn't let them delay the game any further than March 2019, the end of the company's fiscal year. This is probably the most important block on this chapter of this article.
I'm telling you, EA screwed BioWare over.
But to be fair, I'm gonna stick with the old heads. Created this fucking oil slick. They fucked so many people into a corner. They got another studio in another country fucked over.
Because even another studio came over and said, "Hey,
here's feedback.
What is this?"
And what did they do?
And they were like,
"We don't care. You have experience working with online games? Oh, you fucking morons. We don't need your help." And
dude,
they wanted it to be their game.
Honestly, this is just screaming Fire Festival, dude.
This is the video game version of Fire Festival. And that's the saddest part.
The guy who's always that positive leadership, who's like, "Bro, we need to make something happen here. Can we not be like super positive? We need actual real."
Yeah, no, nobody wanted to take the reins. And you know what? Having one person making the executive end of the day decision can be a little bit scary, because it's like, well, if your thing doesn't work, you've essentially driven us off a wall. But at the bare minimum, at least it means that something gets done, right? Like someone says, okay, this is what exactly. It's like this podcast, right? Hypothetically, let's say you all work for me, right? And I don't pay any of you, which is awesome. But let's say I hypothetically did, right? At the end of the day, there's a doc. You guys could fill it up with whatever shit there's usually a doc. You could fill it up with whatever shit you want. But at the end of the day, I get to play Yoshi P and say, nope, we're talking about this, and this, and that's the end of it. At least then it's like, okay, if the podcast sucks, which it always does, my fault, then you could blame me, which is fine. I'm okay with that. I don't give a shit. Thankfully there's no money involved here. But these two lines. At least
somebody is making executive decisions.
Yeah, and they can take all the blame and all the glory, like Rian Johnson. So anyway, these two lines are probably the most important of this chapter. I'm gonna synthesize a much smaller portion of this for Saturday's podcast, because this is even by Kotaku links. Jason Schreier did this. He's a journalist. He deserves that. This is fucking work. This is actually work.
Literally journalism.
I need to pause and say that this is beyond what I expect to see.
This is not he does a lot of this, by the way. Like Jason Schreier, as Jimmy
he's
actually one of the best.
Okay,
honestly, he might be the best person in the industry.
I think he also writes good gaming guides too. I think Jason Schreier.
I'm interested now. You hooked me.
I think he's the one who did the I don't know, the Dragon Quest guide. That was really expensive.
I didn't see any of it. But you know what? I will give Kotaku some credit, or at least I will give Jason Schreier some credit. He has a lot of shit going for him in my mind right now, because this is months in the making, and I think that he wanted to drop it sooner, but April Fools, he didn't. I love this man.
Yeah, he probably didn't want.
Oh my god, I would have had the most fanfare,
ridiculously specific
April Fool's prank ever. Yeah. All right, let's I have to keep these words highlighted up here, because I have to emphasize. They publicly committed to a fall 2018 ship date, but that was never realistic. Publisher EA wouldn't let them delay the game any further. The game from 2014, they would not delay any further than March 2019. So they were entering production so late, it seemed... Oh, this third line is also good. There you go. They were entering production so late, it seemed like it might be impossible to ship anything by early 2019, let alone a game that could live up to BioWare's lofty standards. Something needed to give. Let's keep going, I guess. Oh my god. Let's see. Oh my god. There's like 3... Okay, no, okay. There's like 3 fucking chapters left. Let's where am I? Here we go. On June 29th, 2017, it is a lot of shit happening this summer, but this was basically the summer of no return. They knew they were fucked at this point, and there was really no clean way out of it. I'm going to just say that. They knew around E3 of this time, there was no way they were going to be able to deliver on almost anything they wanted. This was when they were, like, hitting all the buttons. But anyway, BioWare's Mark Darrah published a tweet. Let's see this. Hopefully it's still up. Oh, it's been archived? Oh, no, here we go. Things I, EP, executive producer of the Dragon Age franchise, am not currently working on. Anthem, Mass Effect, Jade Empire, a Dragon Age Tactics game, and Star Wars. Okay, I'm not going to scroll down because it's Twitter comments, but... which is funny, because if you look in the background on his thing, it's all Anthem now. Executive producer of Anthem and Dragon Age. Okay, this just got a lot more interesting. Because he says that he's not working on it here. But if you look at his Twitter, and I mean, I guess all of you have the link in front of you, he has an Anthem, what's the banner called? Banner. He has an Anthem profile picture, and his thing says executive producer of Anthem and Dragon Age. So are we about to read about a man getting cucked into submission? Let's find out. He noted that he was the executive producer of the Dragon Age franchise, then gave a list of games he was not currently working on. Anthem, Mass Effect, Jade Empire, a Dragon Age Tactics game, and Star Wars. The implication was that Darrah was producing Dragon Age 4. At the time, it was true. This iteration of Dragon Age 4 was codenamed Joplin, and those who were working on it told me that they were excited by creative director Mike Laidlaw. Is this the same Laidlaw from Half-Life? I'm not gonna Google this and be fucking disgusted. Okay, no, it's okay, I think it's Mark Laidlaw. Thank the Lord. I saw the word name Laidlaw and I was really fucking scared for a few seconds.
Oh, wait a minute. If you do Google his name,
Mark Laidlaw.
BioWare veteran.
There you go.
Mike Laidlaw joins Ubisoft December 5th, 2018.
He saw it coming. He saw it fucking coming.
He noped out. He was like, I'm done.
Yeah, he was the creative director, and he left. Wow. This is so... Yeah, he joins the Assassin's Creed team? Oh, shit, big ups. Yo, the next Assassin's Creed game is going to be god tier, dude.
The next Assassin's Creed game, something we can talk about later.
Yeah, something, but yeah, just...
Stipulation, honestly, to prevent people from just quitting mid-project.
Yeah, so I just wanted to showcase this.
They can't hold you into the job.
I just wanted to showcase this really quickly from Eurogamer, that this guy is now working at the same studio that made Odyssey. Just throwing that out there for later, if we ever get to it.
I mean, yeah, you can't hold them to the job, but they need to be able, they need to freaking have somebody. Well, I mean, I guess I think that, like, there should be some accountability.
Because if there are fines, Dave.
Yeah. And a lot of times the company that headhunts you will pay happily.
Yeah, but my point is, like, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, there should be, like, fines or something. You can't.
Even if there are fines, like that guy who went to Ubisoft.
Yeah, fuck it. Ubisoft would love him.
They would have paid that shit. Who gives a like a company that headhunt?
Especially since Assassin's Creed is on the up and up.
Like, I see what you're saying.
The company you move to will pay for it.
Yeah, it's like cell phones where they're like, we'll pay off your fucking
we'll pay off your contract. Yeah,
and then we'll totally, fuck you over later. But, I saw Laidlaw, and in my head, I thought we were going to tie over to the Valve shit, and I fucking did a flip in my brain really quickly. So now that I'm in my skull again, they were excited for Dragon Age 4, codename Joplin. Cool. Okay. Anthem was on fire. There you go.
This is like the Pentagon Papers for BioWare.
Yeah, it really... Thank you. I was looking for that earlier. I was really looking for that fucking name earlier. And that's why I settled for Watergate, because I couldn't remember. This is the fucking Pentagon Papers. This is the most in-depth look we've gotten into anything ever at EA. This is intense.
Honestly, anything at gaming. Like, I mean, yes,
Telltale was close, but
yeah,
Telltale,
but
we just got the external of they just can't do it.
And we also got the ending. Now we're seeing this happening
like,
live.
This intimate. Like, we have basically play-by-play of everything that goes on beneath the surface of a video.
All right, but to keep it moving, because I wanna sleep. I don't think I'm asleep tonight. Okay. Please fucking stop with that. You know what you posted, Sergio. But anyway, which is hilarious. But Anthem was on fire, and by October, BioWare had decided to make. Oh my God, this is a fucking year and a half. They're gonna make massive changes. That summer, studio general manager Aaron Flynn departed to be replaced by returning Casey. They
left, and he was like, they were like, come back.
Please come back.
Please.
They must have paid.
They paid the shit out of this man.
Amount of money.
They paid this man in pure cocaine and fucking bail bonds and shit. As part of this process, the studio canceled Dragon Age 4. Laid low, quit shortly. Oh my God, this is the fucking order of everything falling apart. To recap, they made major changes for fucking Anthem. Aaron Flynn leaves. Casey Hudson returns. Cancel Dragon Age 4, Laidlow quits and joins Ubisoft. Or like a month or two later. He joined in December, I think you said.
Well, a month or two is just enough time to talk to Ubisoft and get him.
Yeah, and be like, yo, I will do whatever. I don't give a shit. BioWare restarts Dragon Age 4 under the codename Morrison with a tiny team. Meanwhile, they move the bulk of the developers to Anthem, which needed all the company's resources if it was going to hit the ship date that EA would. This is another good paragraph. This whole thing is fucking good. Let's be fair here. Let's see. Mark Darrah was then installed over game director John Warner from Disney. Oh, look at that. To become executive producer. His role became so significant, he took a billing in the credits. And if I can open the image, he's literally the top. How do I do this? Control plus. There you go. He is literally the top name in the credits, as you can see here. Mark Darrah over John Warner. And here we go. Look, it's all the names we've heard. Wow. This is like the Templar shit from an Assassin's Creed game. I'm sorry. Right before you hunt them down and you kill them. This is pretty much what this is right now. That first name in the credits is someone who started working on the game in 2017, October 2017, 16 months before it shipped. Says volumes about its development. So this dude, you get. I'm not even gonna explain it. You either get it or you don't. A new chapter.
Yoink.
Mine now. That's literally what everyone wanted this game. Everyone wanted their name to be attached to this big new IP, but nobody spent time to figure out what it was and just to fucking make it. And at the end of the day, look what it got them.
This story's been told before, and I just can't think of it specifically.
You are now the king of Shit Mountain. Congratulations, fucknut. And there you go. And then they were all kings of Shit Mountain. And when BioWare gets dissolved in 2 years... that podcast is going to be... I'm going to pop some bottles on that,
So that means that all they were saying before, you know how they said, don't worry, BioWare won't be shut down by this. There's a lot of people in EA's company that are very interested in Anthem. Those were all lies.
Yeah, everyone's leaving. It's revolving door syndrome. Nothing worked out for these people.
Because the development team was like, you're not the only one very interested in Anthem. We have a couple people at EA as well.
Yeah, Soderlund needed his own personal demo, is basically what it boils down to.
So they probably was like, wait a minute, didn't I schedule this product years ago? What's going on with it?
Yeah, he probably realized, he wised the fuck up. He's like, wait, what the fuck happened to this game and why is it not done? I don't know, man.
Dude,
okay.
I don't care, though. I don't care what
I don't care what happened. This is a fucking mess.
This is EA.
It's EA. They deserve it. I don't give a shit. And Respawn, if you're smart... You'll figure out a way to get DICE to get fucked, or you'll run for the hills. You'll do one or the other. There's no third route.
The funny thing is, everyone at Respawn could literally just... They could have a mass exodus and find a home with Microsoft. Because Microsoft has infinite money and is really, really willing to use it.
It depends on the game. I don't know what happened with Microsoft when the Xbox One started.
No,
But
dude.
like Scalebound,
now.
No,
Who
now.
cares about the past? We're talking about the fact that these niggas bought up like 30 different companies in the last like year.
Like, what game do you want to make?
What do you want to make? Here's some money. Have fun. I don't give a fuck.
What game do you want to make? Dude, new Microsoft is on some new age stuff.
I mean, again, Scalebound was only canceled what 2 years ago.
That was before
Yeah,
the
again,
millions
new
of
age
acquisitions.
Microsoft,
Okay.
Anyway, continue with the article.
Yeah, okay. And this is something that they talked about earlier. It was echoed a little bit earlier in this article. If Dragon Age Inquisition hadn't been so successful, perhaps BioWare would have changed its production practices. Perhaps Studio... I just realized that this is supposed to be like the chapter marker up here. That's pretty ridiculous. Perhaps studio leadership wouldn't have preached so strongly about that BioWare magic, that last-minute cohesion that they all assumed would happen with enough hard work and enough crunch, but it was ultimately Dragon Age Inquisition's executive producer who steered Anthem out of rocky waters and into port, well, whatever port you got. When Mark Darrah joined the project in the fall of 2017, he began pushing the Anthem team towards one goal: ship the game. The good thing about Mark is he would just wrangle everybody and make decisions, said one former BioWare developer. That was the thing that the team lacked. Nobody was making decisions. It was deciding by panel. They'd almost get to a decision and then someone would go, but what about this? We were stagnant, not moving anywhere. He started saying basically, just try to finish what you've started, said a second developer. The hard part about that was that there was still lots of things to figure out. There were still a lot of tools to build to be able to ship the game we were making. It was very, very scary because of how little time there was left. At this point, the developer added, it felt like player-based gameplay and was in a good spot. Combat felt like a strong... I'm not getting into it. A strong evolution from Mass Effect Andromeda, which, despite its flaws, was widely considered to have the best shooting of any Mass Effect game. I kind of agree with that.
That's 100% true.
Yeah, I agree with that. Unless, you know, you're like me and you like one. But, yes. Just, you know...
You can't tell me one had good shooting.
I like the jumping in Andromeda, okay? I like jumping around like an idiot.
That's what I'm saying. No,
yeah. I like being an idiot. Anyway. Now that flying... Oh, look, see, they decided flying is a permanent fixture. There you go. Much better. It was starting to feel great, too. Other parts of the game were in much worse shape. It was level design, story, and world building that got screwed the most. And that things kept changing. They had to rebuild a lot all the time, the developer said. Alright, so now we're in the beginning of 2018. By another former developer's recollection, Anthem's progress was so far behind that they'd only implemented a single mission by the beginning of 2018. This is a year before the game is due. A year. I'm pretty sure that even when... You know, I'm not even making no comparisons. Fuck it.
Pretty much probably gonna have to work
24/7. Yeah, and that's what they did. They wanted this last minute magic crunch, and they sure as fuck got it. Let me tell you that.
This is the first company I've ever heard in the history of anything to say, let's intentionally go for crunch as a developer.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, dude.
They like it.
Literally,
they like it.
That's literally insanity.
They didn't do it on purpose. It's because of EA's archaic system.
No, again, it's not just EA. Let's again. This is the crunch is a BioWare problem. It has been seen
because of EA's
not because of EA. This was an issue with Mass Effect.
It's the higher
not because
ups.
of EA. It's literally BioWare.
This is the higher ups, and while EA should have stopped it at some point or said, "What the fuck do you guys plan on doing in the next, year?" It was the higher ups who initiated. I'm going to stick with that. The higher ups gave the thumbs up. And EA is too stupid as a company to fucking, do anything.
But also their archaic systems don't help. The higher-ups again, this is BioWare, but at the same time, it isn't BioWare in the sense that it's because of the fact that they had constant changes of leadership.
That's a BioWare problem. That's not an EA problem.
A lot of people wanted to jump ship off this game, and they found work pretty much instantly, meaning that clearly shit is not great at EA. As I've speculated for years, and I am now being completely validated today.
I'm not saying that BioWare when I say BioWare, yeah, obviously freaking the devs are at fault. I mean, obviously the higher ups are at fault, but I'm talking about the devs, the low-level dudes who have to work last minute did not decide. Well, we're not gonna.
No one's talking about the low-level dudes, though. We're talking about the guys that BioWare is supposed to be the captain of the ship. A ship without a captain, like they're still working. They're working the best they can, but they just have no order. That's fine. That's understandable. But BioWare is like the higher ups were doing nothing. But that's not EA. That's not EA whatsoever. That's BioWare. It is strictly BioWare. Whoever was higher up at BioWare messed up significantly. And I'll play.
No, I agree. Man, upper management messed up at BioWare. But
I mean, then
I'm just trying to say that it's not the freaking lower level dev dude.
Yeah, no, of course, no. I
no
think
one's saying that. No one is saying
Adam
that.
was completely right, by the way. When we had that one talk that one time, Adam said just make sure you place the blame where it needs to go. Adam, though not here physically, he is here in spirit. He was 100% right. It is 100% the higher ups, because it sounds to me like all these low level people, they're running around with their heads on fire. They don't have these years of, like I'm gonna call it boomer magic. They don't have these years of random luck, you know, where, oh, on a bad day I drop Mass Effect 1. Oh, look, we made billions. You know, they don't have that type of luck. They can't do that. They don't see it, right? Like they don't have that faith that everything will just fall together because, you know, I can't. I'm gonna keep reading, but it's just it's so disrespectful to these low-level grunts. Austin especially, they even said it. They felt like grunt work, and they were grunts. They were code jockeys. Yeah, and they're the ones that are going to get fucked first. You think they're going to fire the higher-ups after this? Well, maybe after this. But you think that if this article never came out, they'd even consider firing those fucking 6 or 7 people? No, they'd be sitting fancy working on Dragon Age 4, and then maybe when that sucks dick, maybe they'll get the boot. Maybe, just maybe. But anyway, we're almost done here. Let's keep going. I read it again. By the beginning of 2018, they only had a single mission. That is so ridiculous. Most of the high-level design had still not been finalized, like the loot system and javelin powers, and the writing was still in flux. Still very much in flux. They talk a lot about the 6-year development time, but really the core gameplay loop, the story, and all the missions were made in the last 1 year to 1.5 years, or 16 months, let me say that instead. 12 to 16 months because of lack of vision and total lack of leadership across the board. And there you have it. We had that big discussion about how long they had to make the game. Boom. They actually only really made anything done in a year, 12 months to 16 months. Perfect. This final year was when Anthem began to materialize and became one of the most stressful years in BioWare's history. There was pressure within the studio as many teams had to put in late nights and weekends just to make up the time they lost. There was pressure from EA as executive Samantha Ryan brought in teams from all across the publisher, including outside studios like Motive in Montreal to close out the game. Oh, and there was pressure from the competition as The Division 2 was announced, Destiny 2 continued to improve, and other loot shooters like Warframe just kept getting better.
Yeah,
damn.
In the alpha, they asked me how likely I would be to play other games like Destiny, Division 2. They even asked me if I was gonna play the Division 2 alpha.
Wait a minute, can you say this information? Because you did sign me NDA.
Who cares? It's over. It's past.
Yeah,
fuck
it.
It's expired.
No one will find it. I mean, yeah, whatever.
Nobody cares, dude. They're not gonna freaking.
Dude, you might play the Division over Anthem. Whoa, they're gonna. EA really gonna hound this dude.
I'm not even talking about the game. I'm just talking about the questionnaire afterwards.
I will actually give a prediction. I don't even think BioWare will be around in the next 3 years. So
yeah,
really, I don't think they're gonna.
No, most of the BioWare, like the main guys,
have left.
Have gone. There's actually a new company made by
Oh God, here we go again.
Yeah, just keep reading. Just keep reading.
You keep spoiling it, by the way. Meanwhile, the gaming landscape was changed. Oh, I'm finally vindicated on this. Electronic Arts had gone all in on regularly updated games as a service, but was struggling in several key areas, closing Visceral Games in San Francisco and facing serious drama at its ambitious EA Motive studio in Montreal. The Star Wars Battlefront 2 pay-to-win debacle led to a reinvigorated public hatred for all things Electronic Arts and a publisher-wide reboot of all things Loot Box, not to mention Need for Speed Payback, but You get it.
Nobody.
Yeah, I know. Just saying that was the prelude to
Nobody
Star
knows
Wars
that
being.
game.
No, that was a hint.
Yeah, that was a.
Nobody knows that game exists.
Even as EA execs continually pushed for all of their games to have I'm not even highlighting it. Long-term monetization plans, Anthem included. This paragraph is called too. Holy shit. Anthem included, EA has been public about its distaste for linear games that can be easily returned to GameStop after a single playthrough. And Anthem needed to be, and by the way, here's a link to the Star Wars, by the way, which is cool. And Anthem needed to be finished by rebooting Dragon Age 4 and moving almost all of BioWare staff to Anthem. The studio, now under new leadership, was doubling down. Decisions had to be made to get the game out of the door, no matter what that meant cutting. There was no more time for ideation and finding the fun in prototypes. I would say
7 years, or you had 6 years at that point to prototype.
Thinking, dude. It's all thinking time.
Now you actually got to make the game.
I literally said
Pay the
this,
piper, dude.
In the sense that they wanted to move to a new IP that they could do games as a service and monetize. And that's what they wanted Anthem to be. They wanted it to be a game that could be like Destiny, and they could continue.
I don't know if I agree with that statement, solely because again, you're blaming EA here, but it seemed like Anthem from the get-go.
No, he just says what he wants the game to be.
Okay, but Anthem from the get-go seemed to be like a games as a service game. They wanted it to be an online game. Online games by definition.
Well, yeah, by definition, are games as a
They wanted a
service.
long-term monetization plan. He says they wanted a game.
Yeah, and that's been a thing for a long time. They do not like games like remember Dead Space 3? Yeah, like
ever since Ubisoft introduced games as a service, people, and they had their best fiscal year, people have been talking about, well, we should just do what they're doing and make games that can't be returned, like single player games that, like they said, that can be returned to GameStop, that are linear, like Sekiro, that don't have anything outside of that. They don't want to make games like that anymore. They want Anthem, a long-term monetization plan that is multiplayer and can be played with a ton of friends and have a shop that constantly rotates and new javelins.
You want to know what's sad? Fucking Ubisoft, and this is the same studio that made Dead Space 3 a forced multiplayer game, which arguably made the game the worst in the series. But say what you will about games as a service, even Ubisoft understands how important that is, even as for a single-player game, which is why, and Rockstar not to mention as well, which is why they have detailed plans for all the release content for certain games. Like Odyssey, for instance, had a whole roadmap of things that they were going to do. They've constantly patched it. They've upped the level counter. They've done added new DLC and whatever. I'm going to play it, so we'll see how good it is. But at least they have roadmaps. They constantly keep you apprised of it. You boot the game. Here's what we plan to do this month in clear text. You know, there's a certain way that they do it with single-player games. And I mean, Sekiro is universal acclaim, by the way. You can still make, and this was a podcast topic at like 5 podcasts, I'm sure. You can still make single-player games, and EA had the IPs and the people to do this, but they chose the path of, I guess, least financial greed. Darkness. Yeah, and they wanted to overly milk their games, deliver half-baked games, but let's skip beyond that. They could have done this. They chose to do whatever, and like they said, they wanted to get as much money as possible, and that's what they did. Let's see. I would say it ended up being a... Yeah, go ahead.
Just go.
Okay, yeah. Studio now under new leadership was doubling down. No more finding the fun. I would say it ended up being quite the stressful time, and a lot of people started to develop tunnel vision, said one developer. They had to finish their thing, and they don't have the time. And that, the developer added, is one of the explanations for some of its Anthem's critical flaws. Consider its unreasonably long load times, which could take more than 2 minutes on PC before the early patch. Of course we knew loading screens would be no shit. But we have everything on schedule, hundreds more days scheduled of work than we actually have, so loading is just not going to get addressed. Anthem was so in flux during 2018 that some of the major features that were discussed publicly that year never made it into the game. A Game Informer cover story on Anthem... Oh my god.
Yeah, that's the worst possible
Everything is getting fucking drawn into this shit show. Detailed a skill tree... I might have this, by the way, and that's the sad part. either digitally or physically. I don't know if I could showcase that, but let's keep going. It would allow players to build up their exosuit pilots in unique ways. Your pilot also gains skills that apply universally to any javelin that you use. For instance, the booster jets can overheat with continued use, but by investing in a certain pilot skill, you can increase the amount of... Nope, that was cut. Cut before launch. We don't know how accurate this is, said one BioWare developer, but it felt like the entire game was built basically in the last 6 to 9 months. You couldn't play it, there was nothing there. It was just this crazy final rush. The hard part is, how do you make a decision when there's no game? There's nothing to play. So yeah, you're going to keep questioning yourself. It's not unusual for a game to be in rough shape close to launch. Some of the best video games in history, like The Last of Us, came out of rocky development cycles which many of the staff said they were screwed until everything coalesced at the last minute.
That's not a good thing, though, by the way.
It's not, but I mean, something about Anthem felt different. Too much had gone awry. Too many ambitions had not been realized. I think if just one thing had gone wrong, we would have navigated that, said a developer. One mandate from Anthem's directors had been to make the game... I can't read that word. That word doesn't exist in my category, in my vocabulary from actual game developers. This is astroturfing.
That was the best part, by the way. What? That right there is the best part of the article.
If the word is unmemeable.
Unmemeable?
You heard it right. No memes allowed. Holy shit. EA finally did it. They're so salty over...
No, it's not EA. This is not
BioWare. EA. I'm sorry. You know what I mean. Anthem, I'm sorry. I can't process that I just read that. My brain just rejected the word unmemeable. It did not accept it. One mandate from Anthem's directors had been to make the game unmemeable. A reaction to Mass Effect Andromeda's jittery facial animations, which became an internet joke. Crobecat. They are literally blaming Crobecat right now. They are unironically blaming that.
They probably have a dartboard with his face on it.
The Max Payne. Yeah, the Max Payne face. They hate Max Payne now. Wow. For Anthem, the team used high-end performance capture to ensure all the characters couldn't be turned into embarrassing... I have some of these GIFs in my fucking... GIF rotation for my stream, by the way, and plastered all over Reddit. Since the bulk of the game's storytelling will be told from a first person, players will spend a lot of time staring at characters' faces. They had to look good, sure, whatever. This is bullshit.
You want to know what's funny? Anthem really isn't memeable.
It is memeable. It's okay. No, I see what you mean.
No,
it's like, so bad.
There are no memes.
The joke is the game. It's not like the joke is, you know, Sarah Ryder looks like a fucking idiot half the time.
But they did successfully because there's nothing in it.
There's nothing in the game, so what could they do? It's like it's. How could you make it a meme? There's almost nothing in the game. The game itself is a fucking bad meme. They're crazy. These people are fucking Looney Tunes. They're so worried about their image. Okay, let's keep going.
Again, this game's already in a god-awful state.
Which, by the way, when is this? Really quickly, where was this?
6 to 9 months before release.
Yeah, 6 to 9 months before release. We don't want to be made fun of on Reddit. Performance capture, or PCAP, did indeed make for beautiful animations, but it came at a cost. Because booking performance capture was so expensive, the team often had just one shot to get things right, which was a difficult proposition when Anthem's design was changing so rapidly. Sometimes the team would record and implement scenes that stopped making sense as a result of design changes. There are little bits of dialogue, little moments in some of these performance captured scenes that if you stop and think, don't make any sense.
He said this, by the way.
Said one developer. He's not even a former developer, but they're gonna fire the whole team. They're gonna ask who did this. They're not gonna rat him out. They're gonna fire all of them. The reason this doesn't make any sense is because they changed some of the gameplay down the line, but it was impossible to change the performance capture. One mission involving the rebellious Sentinel Dax, by spoilers, I guess, whatever, for example, has a few lines of dialogue that reference the destruction of her Javelin exosuit, which never happens in the game. The explanation is simple. The mission was altered after they recorded the dialogue, and there was no time or money to go re-record it. They were just like, well, it's not going to be destroyed, said the developer. Wait, that makes the line make no sense. Hardcore fans have spotted other examples of Anthem dialogue that seems incoherent or odd, like characters talking about other characters as if they're not present when they're actually standing in the same room. That's a strong example of the types of problems that befell us, said another developer. Why couldn't they change this? It's not that nobody wanted to, it's because when we set the course with these huge assets, sometimes we're sometimes stuck with them. Because decisions were being made so rapidly and there was so much work left to do, Anthem developers said they had a hard time looking at the game holistically. It was tough to zoom out and get a feel for what it was like to play 40, 60, or 80 hours of Anthem when entire missions weren't even finished. How could you tell if the loot drop rates were balanced when you couldn't even play through the whole game? Start that again. Start that line again. How could you tell if the loot drop rates were balanced when you could not even play through the whole game?
Remember when they would patch out the loot and then you would hear all the complaints about how
they banned a dude for showing off efficient loot farming methods within the own game structure by flying around the overworld, by exploring the world? These people are
people want to defend this game even post-launch.
There are certain people at BioWare who are fucking dumb, and that's all I'll say about that.
I told Jimmy that this game was indefensible.
This game has really no defense.
That will be addressed. I said, Jimmy, this is a horrible.
This game has really deep-seated issues.
Like when I was gone from that weekend, I was watching the posts.
Shit show.
I was just watching it happen.
Dude,
you were the elusive man in that one scene, just smoking a cig.
No, Jimmy, you cannot defend this. You cannot.
This is me on Destiny week 1, but even Destiny was better than this. But I'm not gonna fuck. We could slaughter all these games on some other time. Oh, here we go. It gets even better. How could you assess the game, or whether the game felt grindy or repetitive when the story isn't even done? Plus, the build could be so unstable it was difficult to even log on to test for bugs. I think there was a whole week when I couldn't do anything because there were server issues. This sounds like Final Fantasy on launch week. Not developing the game from the ground up. Said one person who worked on the game. Another said that the team had to test out and approve levels offline, which was a strange choice for missions that were meant to be played by 4 people. Just a couple of months before Anthem shipped, decisions were being finalized and overhauled. At one point, for example, the leadership team realized there was no place in the game to show off your gear, which was a problem.
Can we talk about... Hold on a second, just pause for a second. Can you talk about for a looter shooter, because this is what the game was supposed to be at by this time, that has cosmetics, that there was no place... They didn't think, oh, wait a minute.
Can't even flex on people.
We need a place to flex.
You know what I just realized? They probably just figured that out, Malcolm, when the beta was over, by the way.
Maybe. This is why we have the Forge, right?
It, remember the room, what's that place called? The loading docks or whatever?
Yeah, the loading bay. That's what it is.
That wasn't in the beta.
That's when they realized. Or probably like they couldn't implement it into the beta. It's like MMOs don't have this problem. Because you could go anywhere and flex on people. I mean, I'm not going to get into this too much. Destiny, you could go in the tower. I mean, no one really cares too much, but if you hypothetically did care, you could just dance on something or whatever, and people would see whatever. This is stupid. This is all fucking stupid. This is beyond dumb. And at this point, it's just sad. I'm feeling a little sad. Let's keep going. You could spend the money on what was I saying? There was no place in the game to show off your gear, which was a problem for a game in which the long-term monetization was all based on cosmetics. You could spend the money on fancy new outfits for your robot suit, but who would even see them? The game's one city was privately instanced, so that could change. It could change for each player based on how much progress they made in the story. So the team brought on EA Motive Studio in Montreal to build the launch bay. We just said it. Holy shit. A last-minute addition to the game where you could hang out and show your gear to strangers. Here we go. There was an entire week where I couldn't do anything because server issues, said a BioWare developer. Back in Edmonton, as the crunch continued, BioWare employees say the leadership assured them that everything would be fine. Start again. Not even starting from the beginning. BioWare...
There's an entire week in which you cannot fix anything because there's server issues.
Everything is fine. It's literally...
You're in the fire. The fire is around you. It's surrounding you.
Yeah, it's that meme.
The dog who's sitting in that...
Everything's fine. It's all fine, dude. Don't worry about it. Hey, we don't have...
The flames are licking at your feet.
You can literally smell yourself cooking. Yeah, it's fine. Then he burns to a skeleton and then he dies. Okay. The BioWare magic would...
It's like
this is a cult.
waiting for Godot.
This is a cult. This is Far Cry 5 right now. We are watching these people wait for the apocalypse to take us all away. That's what we're waiting for. Sure enough, the damn game did continue to get better. One developer emphasized that the improvements were exponential during those last few months, but the stress of production had serious consequences. When will they realize that their actions have consequences, am I right? I'd never heard of stress leave until the end of Andromeda, said one former BioWare employee, referencing a practice in which BioWare employees would take weeks or months off for their mental health. On Anthem, a developer added, this practice just got worse. I'd never heard of people needing to take time off because they were so stressed out, but then that kind of spread like wildfire throughout the team. This also led to attrition over Anthem's development, and a glance at the game's credits reveals a number of names of people who left during 2017 and 2018. People were leaving in droves, said one developer who left. It was just really shocking how many people were going. We hear about the big people, said another developer, who left. When writer Drew Karpyshyn leaves, it makes big waves, but a lot of people don't realize there were a ton of really talented game designers who left BioWare and no one knows. The general public is unaware of who these people are. Some of those people who took off for other cities, over a dozen followed former BioWare boss Aaron Flynn to Improbable, a technology company that, that just recently announced plans to develop its own game. That includes many former high-level staff, including art and animation director Neil Thompson, technical director Jacques Lebrun, and lead designer Chris Schoenberg, some of whom were at BioWare for over a decade. Now, I don't recognize any of those names from those 6 up top. That doesn't mean they're exempt, because they say they were high level, but my guess is that they're probably not the higher ups who were fighting over this game for clout.
I get that you, because it's a sinking ship, but honestly, if I put my name on something, I'm gonna damn finish it, dude. No matter how shitty it is, I'm not gonna just abandon it. I don't know,
I think a lot of people might have felt like that, to be honest. But it just got to them, you know. They were having the whip put to their backs. I mean, after a certain point, a lot of people probably just bailed, right? They were probably like, fuck this, gone, goodbye. A lot of people probably feel like you felt, especially if they were at this company for a decade where they had similar situations. All that does is it speaks to how massive of a step down this was compared to even Andromeda. Just think about that for a minute. You thought Andromeda was the worst game EA put out? Fuck, at least Andromeda's a complete game. It might not be a good game. It might have silly facial animations and glitches, but at least you could play it.
The game is complete. Like, there's a...
the game, you could beat it.
Hold on, did we get to the time gating part?
No, so it gets even better.
Oh, it gets even better.
I hate you so much.
Arslan and whatchamacallit, we're done with the game. Jimmy, we're done with the game.
I don't blame them. I'm not even gonna make fun of them for sticking through it, because I fucking quit the game like later. I was like, this is not even fucking worth it. It doesn't even run. If EA can't even make a game that run, get the fuck out of my face. They took $15 from me, by the way. I'd like to remind everyone that I got cucked. They fucking whatever. By the end of 2018, those who remained on Anthem wish they could have just a few. I thought I was gonna say those that remained wish they weren't. But anyway, wish they could have had a few more months. Under Darrah and the production staff, there was real momentum, but it became clear to everyone that the game wouldn't ship with as much content as fans expected. They came up with some artificial solutions to extend the campaign. Oh my...
Oh, no.
Yo, Arslan said it was artificial increasing of time.
No. Hold on. It gets even worse. It gets even worse.
Okay, so for reference, the challenges of the Legionnaires is a part of the story that happens really early in the story, where you have to complete a bunch of boring, repetitive fetch quests, doing certain actions, getting multi-kills, or whatever, to complete the game. And here we have complete confirmation it only exists in the game to extend, like...
It could have been worse.
People, I know, but people mention filler for a lot of games sometimes. This, at least... Fuck it, you're right. Keep reading.
Fuck it gets significantly worse.
A tedious mandatory part of the main story that involves completing grindy quests in order to access tombs across the game's world. Originally, according to 2 BioWare developers, this mission included time gates that might force players to wait days to complete it. Fortunately, they changed this before. I'm not even.
They wanted you to wait like a
wait, hold on. That mission was controversial even within BioWare. The reasoning was definitely to throttle player movement. Can you imagine having to write this and not be a shit poster like me? Imagine if this is what you found out legitimately. Imagine that. This is not me.
April Fool's Day, right?
This is not me shit posting because I hate EA or whatever, right? This is not me being an asshole. This is actually what they did to this game to extend playtime. This is not me being an asshole. Blame Jason Schreier, but it looks like he did his research, damn it, and I'm going to give it to him because it looks like he did. Even within BioWare, they knew this shit was fucking stupid. Just imagine that for a minute. Even EA and their studios had to, or not EA, but even a studio under this company, the one of the worst in video games, had to say this is really fucking awful. And they still kept it in, by the way. They still had to, they made it shared experience for some of it later, but keep reading. Fuck it.
Imagine if they had put in the time gate, dude.
I would have quit the game on spot. On spot. That would have been.
No, that would have been. No, that's disrespectful. That is literally disrespectful, dude.
That would have.
That's 1.0. You're actually getting to 1.0.
That would actually kill the whole game.
Would have been all out war.
Remember when 1.0 did that, Sergio? With you play too much, you get diminishing returns on experience.
And also, let's not forget, it on launch it was bugged, so it didn't share.
Was that really a bug?
It didn't share. It didn't share progress. So if 4 people were in your world doing it, when me, Adam, and Arslan were doing it, we each individually had to do it for it to count.
Is that really a bug, though? Let's be fair.
Yeah, I mean, they said it was...
Who knows? I don't trust anything coming out of this fucking studio right now. I think that's intentional. I'm sorry. They just admitted they wanted to put time gates in a paid product to throttle your movement so you wouldn't beat the game too quickly, because their shitty game had no missions in it a year prior.
Bypass by playing the game a lot, because it was a time thing. You just had to wait.
So once you complete it, you would just have to sit there or not play the game. And honestly, like, some games can do time gate stuff, like Xenoblade has like missions and Phantom Pain has missions, but
there's still an entire game.
There's still a whole game, and Xenoblade has hundreds of hours of content. Even the fucking DLC, which was 20, what was it, 40 bucks? Has more content than Anthem. And you could do it, you could play that shit for weeks. And probably just barely get everything done if you're not using like a super guide. Fuck these people, because they knew what they were doing. Their game is so little keep reading, fuck it. Fuck it, fuck it. If you want to read, if you want my whole explanation, watch the next episode. I just want to get through this. There was no escape.
The more you read, the worse it gets.
This is the burden of truth. Like, honestly, I don't know if I want to go deeper. This is Binding Coil. I don't know if I want to keep doing this, dude. I'm scared. There was no escape.
This is the price of smiles.
That should be the name of this episode, honestly. The price of smiles. That would be 109's name. How about that? If you remind me, I'll make it that.
Okay.
There's no escaping EA's fiscal target. No shit, because they like money.
No, I know. At this point in time, no, I'm sorry. At this point in time,
and here you go.
Release the game. Release the damn game.
The literal next line. And Anthem had already been in development for 7 years. They had committed to launching within EA's fiscal year, which ended March of 2019. The game would ship in February. Even if they wanted a few more months, that just wasn't an option. In the end, said one developer, we just ran out of time. That's like a game over screen on like Dead Rising or some shit. Like Majora's Mask. Oh, well, you've met with a horrible fate. The moon destroyed everything.
The moon destroyed your company.
If there was one reason for BioWare staff to be optimistic, it was the fact that unlike the studio's previous games, Anthem had room to evolve. Early mock reviews, critical assessments provided by outside consultants, predicted Anthem's Metacritic score would land in the high 70s. That's considered low for a BioWare game, but they were fine with it, telling they would do some last-minute polish in the months following this, and they could get even higher. A few months after launch... Yeah, these people are fucking deluded. A few months after launch, maybe they'd have something special on their hands. They had a really strong belief in the live service, said one developer. Issues that were coming up, they'd say, we're on a live service. We'd be supporting this for years to come. We'll fix that later.
Release now,
keep reading.
fix it later.
Keep reading. You already know what I would say about it. Keep reading. It turned out the mock reviews had been too generous. By the time Anthem came about, BioWare's leadership would have killed for a Metacritic in the high 70s. And this is not a chapter thing, actually. It's just a cool little graphic. Present day, or as close to the present day as we're going to get. This is literally where we came in and we played the game. Let's begin. It's time to carve open the turkey, my friends. Actually, at this point, we're finishing it. We're about to have some dessert. On February 15th, 2019, Anthem launched in EA's premium early access services, opening the floodgates as players and reviewers began to see just how flawed the game was. It's
just early access. It's not the actual game. It's not indicative of the final product.
Can you do me a favor? Say your classic line.
What?
Remember to...
temper your expectations.
Say it one more time.
Temper your expectations.
One more time.
Imagine getting hyped for a BioWare game in the year 2019.
I mean, but to be fair, though, that was another issue. It wasn't that we were getting hyped for a BioWare game.
No, I know, but I gotta give it. Today of all days,
an individual was hyped for it, and
yeah, I know, but I want him to parade this around that he was right about the game, even if he was a little aggressive about it. He was
not just I was right. I literally predicted everything about this game.
Okay.
Nearly everything that's gone wrong. Like I don't know the in-depth stuff. But I was hinting. I was like, hey, something ain't right with this game. There's just something off.
Yeah, and usually that's my job. Usually that's my job. Shit. God damn, I'm losing my touch. I should retire. The loading screens were too long, the loot system felt unbalanced, the missions were thin and repetitive, plenty of players liked the core gameplay, the shooting, the flying, and the abilities. But everything around it seemed undercooked. As it turned out, February 15th week build was a few weeks old. A devastating mistake for BioWare that led to far more negative reviews than they might have received otherwise. A patch a few days later fixed some of the bugs, such as audio drops and sluggish loading screens that were highlighted in reviews when it was too late. By the time the Metacritic score had settled, it was a 55. I don't think we knew what Anthem was going to be when it shipped, said one developer. If we had known the shipped game would have had that many problems, then that's a completely different take than, oh, okay, it's okay to get this out now because we can improve it later. That wasn't the case. Nobody believed that this. Nobody did believe that this was flawed or this broken. Everyone actually thought we have something here and we think it's pretty good. And these are career game developers, by the way. I would just like to point out, really quickly, if I scroll down to Wikipedia, for reference, Mass Effect Andromeda has a 71 on PS4, and that's its lowest score for Metacritic. Just for reference, remember that all the shit that Andromeda caught was still a 71, which is what this game wanted to get above, actually. It didn't want to just tie with it. Keep going. Keep reading. While talking to me, a number of former BioWare developers brought up specific complaints that were voiced by players and critics, then shared anecdotes of how they made those same gripes to the leadership team throughout 2017 and 2018, only to be brushed off. It's easy for developers to say that with hindsight, of course, but this was a common theme. Reading the reviews is like reading a laundry list of concerns that the developers brought up with senior leadership, said one person who worked on the game. In some cases, they just didn't have time to address the issues, but these former BioWare developers said they brought up bigger picture concerns years before the game shipped. As an example, two developers brought up non-player character dialogue. Most of Anthem's story is told throughout conversations in Fort Tarsis and radio chatter as you go through missions. Yet the game strongly pushes you to team up with other players. As anyone who's played an online game knows, it's hard to pay much attention to NPC dialogue when you're playing with other people, whether they're blabbing in your ear or rushing you to hurry up and get to the next mission. Current and former BioWare employees say they brought this up with BioWare's senior leadership only to be ignored. Anthem developers say they anticipated other complaints too, like the ones about the heat meter that prevents you from flying for too long without breaks, and the fact that so many of those Fort Tarsis dialogue choices didn't seem to accomplish much. In the weeks after launch, BioWare's Austin office began taking over the live service as had always been planned, while BioWare Edmonton staff gradually started moving towards new projects like Dragon Age. I have no faith in that game. Among those who remain at the company, there's belief that Anthem can be fixed with a few more months and some patience from player. No, fuck you. We pay 60 for it. You don't get our patience. Fuck you. No, sorry. Not memeing. I hate to break kayfabe, and I hate to break fucking reading this. Fuck you. It's a paid product. You don't get that kind of patience. No, sorry. It will have the same redemption story as so many service games before it, from Diablo 3 to... Yeah, no, don't even compare yourself to that. Don't quit your day job. Yet questions linger about BioWare's production practice. You know, many of those who have left the company over the past few years shared concerns about the studio's approach to game development. There's a widespread worry about the studio... I fucking messed up. A widespread worry that the soul of BioWare has been ripped away, and that this belief in BioWare magic has burned too many people out. There's too many talented veterans that have left. There are things that need to change about how that studio operates, said one former developer. There are lessons that need to be learned, and the only way they'll get learned is if they become public knowledge. Oh, this is a quote that's coming up, I think. I don't think we've read this. I think Anthem might be the kick in the butt that BioWare leadership needed to see that you develop, how you develop games has changed dearly. All right. One big change that's already been enacted is new technology strategy. Developers at the studio say that under Casey Hudson, rather than start from scratch yet again, the next Dragon Age will be built on Anthem's codebase. All right. We'll share more on that game in the near future. Oh my god, please write a hit piece about Dragon Age 4. I would love for this book to have a sequel.
I want a hit piece on Fallout. I don't know. I want to know what happened there. If we could get this much information on Fallout, I would love it.
Yeah, I think Todd Howard actually shoots people who talk about Fallout. Just saying. I don't think they're gonna survive that one, buddy. I know it would be great. It would be even longer than this, and I don't think we'd make
I just want to know what happened.
I think we know what happened. That game is pure intern bait, 100%. But anyway, continuing on. Let's see, where was I? Perhaps Anthem... Okay, no, here we go. I think Anthem might be the kick in the butt that the BioWare leadership needed to see, that how you develop games has changed dearly, said one former staffer. Which is important because, remember, these are old fucking boomers who just thought they would do the same shit over and over and the magic would carry them through. You can't just start fresh and fumble your way forward until you find the fun. That doesn't work anymore. Perhaps Anthem will... Pardon?
Night, guys. It's getting late.
Alright, yeah, no problem. This was way longer than I fucking thought it would be. I'm not gonna lie. Thank you for showing up, Mr. Yummy Gun.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Any final words for BioWare?
Y'all made good games. You should probably learn how to read a clock.
I love this.
Just buy a digital clock. I mean, that's...
It's easier.
So you have a calendar in your house, you know.
Alexa tells you, too.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
you can
Get
get
one of those. Or hire somebody with a brain that can read numbers.
Or, I mean, just get a sundial, for fuck's sake. I mean, it'll never run out of... You don't even have to change the batteries. You can just...
Yep.
Hopefully.
Oh, God.
Right,
but thank you, Mr. Yummy Gun.
Yep. Have a good night,
let's see. Perhaps Anthem will morph into a great game one day. A few people who worked here express optimism for the future. A lot of us were screaming at the wall, said one Austin developer. Over time, what builds up is when we get in control, we're going to fix it. So basically, they're waiting to fully take the game to actually be able to fix it. Nice. That's a good thing to look at it. Sure, the game has all these problems and we understand them. It's very much a motivated to fix attitude. The game that emerged from a 6.5-year development cycle was the result of a number of difficult, complicated factors, one that won't be quite as easy to fix as Anthem's loot drop rates or loading screens. When the Anthem team started developing back in the day, they hoped to make the Bob Dylan of video games, one that would be referenced and remembered for generations. They might have just accomplished that, just not in quite the way they hoped. And that's the end of the original article, by the way, which is... Oh my god, Jason Schreier, this was a fucking delight to read. This in the Schadenfreude level of heightened arousal. I never in my wildest fever dreams imagined that this shit was possible. But here we are, and it is. And that's fucking beautiful. Let's get into the update, because this is where we start to hit drama levels, and I think Sergio hinted at this earlier. And then we're finally at the bottom, by the way, after this. Update, 11:30 a.m. So I believe this was published at 10 a.m. I'm not going to scroll up. Minutes after the publication of this article. Minutes, by the way. EA and BioWare put up a blog post in apparent response. We had sent over a bullet-pointed summary of what was in this piece, although they did not have a chance to read the article before publishing their post, which makes it a particularly bizarre response.
He's salty. He's like, guys, you should probably pull up the actual BioWare article.
Yeah, we will. No, we will.
You should read that first. No, you should read that first before.
Okay, so should we read this before concluding here?
Yes.
Okay, where is it? Here we go. Is it looking good on OBS? Let me check real quick. I'm sorry. Hold on. Yeah, okay, it looks fine. We'd like to... Okay, so this is Anthem game development by BioWare. April 2nd. This has also been archived, by the way. I did not archive this page. Someone else archived it. April 2nd, 2019. I'd like to... It's pretty short. We'd like to take a moment to address an article published this morning. Oh my god, they fucking really did it. Published this morning about BioWare and Anthem's development. First and foremost, we wholeheartedly stand behind every current and former member of our team that worked on the game, including leadership. You know, the fucking leadership was behind the dude writing this with a shotgun to the back of his head.
No, leadership themselves wrote that, dude.
Or that, you're right. Well, why would they do any work? The magic will make it come true.
Because they're being,
The magic will make it come. This is a new meme, by the way. Holy
the magic.
Shit. It takes a massive amount of effort, energy, and dedication to make any game, and making Anthem would not have been possible without every single one of their efforts. We chose not to comment or participate in this story because we felt there was an unfair focus on specific team members and leaders who did their You really, you're going to tell me that he's not standing behind him with an RPG?
He's doing it himself.
Who did their absolute best to bring this totally new idea to fans. We didn't want to be part of something that was attempting to bring them down as individuals. We respect them all. We built this game as a team. We put great emphasis on our workplace culture. The health and well-being of our team members is something we take very seriously. We have built a new leadership team over the last couple of years, starting with Casey Hudson as our GM in 2017, which helped us make big steps to improve studio culture and our creative focus. We hear the criticisms that were raised by people in the piece today, and we're looking at that alongside feedback that we receive in our internal team surveys. We put a lot of focus on better planning to avoid crunch time, quote, by the way, quote, crunch time, unquote. And it was not a major topic of feedback in our internal post-mortems. Making games, especially new IP, will always be one of the hardest entertainment challenges. We will do everything we can to make it healthy and stress-free, but we also know there's always room to improve. As a studio and as a team, we accept all criticisms that come our way for the games we make, especially from our players. The creative process is often difficult. The struggles and challenges of making video games are very real, but the reward of putting something we create into the hands of our players is amazing. People in this industry put so much passion and energy into making something fun. We don't see the value in tearing down one another or another's work. We don't believe articles that do that are making our industry and craft better. Our full focus is our players and continuing to make Anthem everything it can be for the community. Thanks for the support. We do what we do for you. That last line is a complete shot at Kotaku, 100%. And this whole article is cope. This is not even damage control. It's cope.
It's cope.
They're trying to figure out what to fucking feel right now. And they even tout the leadership multiple times in here. Hold on. Including leadership over here. Let's see if I can do this correctly. Leaders and team members and leaders, of course, who did their absolute best. And we won all these fucking things. And they have the nerve to fucking take it. I hate to defend Kotaku. What fucking timeline are we in? Like, seriously right now. Why am I defending Kotaku? But you know what? He deserved it. He deserves this one day. So for this one day, I'm a fucking white knight Kotaku. Fuck you, EA. You don't get... Or, excuse me. Let me rehone that sword. Fuck you, BioWare. You don't get to fucking make these claims. You don't get to say this shit. Your product is not a free-to-play game. If it was a free-to-play game, maybe I could kind of get behind it. Or if it was like...
Free is not enough, by the way. People want their time respected.
Whatever, fine. But at least if it's a free-to-play game, I know my wallet is being respected, maybe. Possibly.
No,
but,
it's not. It's being shit on.
I know, but I'm saying that your product is $60. You do not get to make something this shitty and not get criticized for it. And I don't believe any of this bullshit. This whole fucking thing is a lie. So thanks for lying to my face again, BioWare. I remember how you treated people during the Mass Effect 3 forum debacle. I remember that shit clear as fucking day. You know why? Because I'm not a fucking idiot. So this whole post is fucking bullshit. Every single line in this post was either written by one of the fuckers who are higher ups who are tweaking their nipples because they know everything's going to be fine because of their stupid boomer magic, or it's written by some poor schmuck who just wants to earn a paycheck at the end of the day with your shotgun in the back of their head. So fuck that. I don't buy this post one bit. And that's 100% a comment on me. No one else on this podcast needs to put it to the same degree. This is 100% bull fucking horse shit. And the fact that you quote crunch time and the last sentence of this article leads me to believe that you're taking shots back at fucking Jason Schreier. I don't know a damn thing about this dude, but you want to know something I do know?
I don't even like the dude.
I don't know anything about him. I could hate him. I could look back on his shit from Gamergate or whenever. I could fucking hate him tomorrow. But I'll give him one thing. He did his fucking legwork. He did his fucking legwork, and I do believe everything that he wrote in that article was not meant for personal gain or whatever. I believe he did his journalistic dues. At least to expose your shitty bullshit, which has now led to 2 flops in a row, and basically you can't release a game since 2011 without some degree of fucking anger or some degree of fucking bullshit involved, a lie, a scale back, people leaving. I don't believe it. So fuck that. This thing gets a fucking one finger salute from me, proud and high to the fucking moon, and I don't give a shit about it. Fuck you, BioWare. I don't buy that 100% at all. Go to hell. Okay. We'd sent over a bullet pointed response. Yeah, so they even sent over, so they knew what they wanted to fucking say back. They if you want to just fucking have drama, then just fucking have drama and put some balls on your fucking crotch for once. Because I'm tired of fucking game devs always hiding behind, we do our best, we do this, we do that. You know what, motherfucker? Maybe sometimes you should just take the fucking L. I don't give a shit. But if you're gonna take a shot at someone, you better fucking have the balls to stand back and fire back. I hate this pussy bitch shit. I'm sorry, I do. Let's move on. Fucking cowards. This post explains the lack of comment for our article based on the assumption of what the article would focus on. We chose not to comment or participate in this story because we felt there was an unfair focus on specific team members and leaders who did their... Exactly. There's... The fuck... They're scum. You people are legit worse than scum. Goddamn. Who did their absolute best to bring this totally new idea to fans. We didn't want to be a part of something that was attempting to bring them down as individuals. Well, our article named some senior people at BioWare, which in a minute I'll give you guys your fucking due round of applause, you dumb fucks. While we were asked about the roles of various leaders at BioWare during the game's development, readers can judge for themselves whether BioWare's assumptions about our article were correct. We don't think they were. And it's a fucking cold day in hell because I agree with Kotaku today. And that is a really fucking weird thing to be in. The struggles and challenges of making video games are very real, the post states, but the rewards of putting something we created in the hands of our players is amazing. People in this industry put so much passion and energy into making something fun, we don't see the value in tearing down one another or another's work, and we don't believe articles that do that are making our industry and craft better. Okay, and now Kotaku will respond. We believe in asking questions and publishing what we can find out. We hope that in the future, EA and BioWare will see the value of that process. And that is the end, my friends. Good fucking God. This was a fucking odyssey in stupidity. So actually, hold on. Jason Schreier. I scrolled him up a little too much. Fuck. There you go. I love this man. I don't know who the fuck he is. I could hate him tomorrow. Honestly. No,
he's a jackass. No, if you look at massive jackass.
You know what? Today, and anytime someone mentions this, I have to give him clout for this. I can't hate this man because you know what? Today, you know what they say. Politics makes strange bedfellows. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. So today, he's my friend. Tomorrow, who the fuck knows? But hold on, where are these fucking people? I'm not gonna find it, am I? The fucking the couple figureheads, the fucking the bobbleheads. This is a long article. I might not find it again. But yeah, first of all, I don't know how much shit got drawn into this. We're talking.
You can move me back?
What happened?
You think you can move me back?
You're gonna leave? Yeah, I'm looking at it.
For like half a second.
Take your minute. Yeah, take your minute. Yeah, no problem. Sergio, are you looking through the article? Could you find the names of the people? I'm also looking. I can't. I'm not gonna find it. Let me throw up something while we do this because I don't think we need to see the article anymore. Let's throw up City at Night. There we go. Because this has been This was extra. There's so many points to this. I feel like I have to do a goddamn book review to really piece this together as
Look
like
up
an
Control
actual...
F Disney and you'll find the person. John Warner, I think, is one of the people.
Yeah, Disney. Okay. Yeah, well, that's John Warner. I'm trying to look for other people.
John Warner, Preston Wadamani,
yeah, here we go. Thank you, Preston.
Derek Watts,
here we go.
Parrish Lee, and other Mass Effect veterans.
Here we go. We found... Thank you, Sergio. So here are your fucking people. The job of steering Anthem now fell, after Hudson's departure, to John Warner, Preston Watamaniuk, Derek Watts, Parrish Lee, and a bunch of other random people. Congratulations. You guys are all the kings of Shit Mountain. I hope you enjoy that title for whatever the fuck it's worth in 3 years.
Preston Watamaniuk hasn't posted since 2017 on his Twitter.
We're getting a little spicy here.
Let's find John Warner, because all these people are obviously on Twitter, right?
Oh, of course. I'm surprised they're not all blue check marks. Let's be fair here. No, I'm not the type of dude. I'm not the type of dude.
Last post was March 10th. It's this soy boy.
I'm not gonna be the type of dude to say that they need to lose their jobs. I'm just gonna say that I would totally expect EA to completely liquidate BioWare.
Yeah.
I'm not posting photos and shit, but I'm just saying, like, if you want to look them up, you can look them up. But these people, because numerous times in this article, it was brought up that the grunt workers, the other people, were constantly bringing shit up to the leadership. And I mean, basically, at the end of the day, you kind of just have to take one person's word for it over another. The fact of the matter is that this game has a lot of problems, and it's too clear now. It's all too fucking clear, right? And so everyone's going to say hindsight's 20/20. So how much you want to blame, who you want to primarily blame, and how much blame you want to assign to each party is completely up to whoever fucking reads or listens or watches, right? I personally take issue with these people the most. I feel like as the go-betweens between EA higher-upness, EA high-ups, and the rest of their below studios. First of all, let's even try to recap, right? The Anthem team from the start hated the Andromeda team. They thought they were way higher up than them in 2015, 2014. They thought they were snobs. They were way lower. There was a certain amount of prestige that all the Mass Effect veterans worked on this game, and that the Andromeda people just were, just fuck-alls who were just coding this game, which is shitty, and just leeching their resources. And at the end of it all, you dumb fucks did even way worse than them. You made a game that fails, right? How many games get below a 60? That's really bad. I really even think the only game I could think of that might be that low is like Aliens Colonial Marines.
I don't think the same team that was looking down. I think that team was already gone.
Well, there was a team at Anthem who did look down on Andromeda at one point. But you're right, that might not be them, but it was comprised of only the people who were privy to it, people who had the password to the wiki, according to this, which is only the higher-ups. So whatever shifting group of higher-ups, I mean, it might not always have been the same people, but I'm just going to generally blame them. If you're one of these people in this group, you ruined this game. You were driving the fucking car off the bridge. You were hands first. Now, EA might have been on the radio and the cell phone, and the grunts might have been tied up in the trunk, but you were driving this car. All of you were sharing some fucking brewskis or whatever, doing drugs, snorting coke, whatever. You drove this game off the fucking bridge.
But I feel like BioWare is already going to be liquidated even if this didn't happen, by the sheer fact that the game was bad.
Yeah, no, I believe it. Even if this game was a 75, I think they would still be in danger. This game is not a 75. This game is a 55. This game is a 50 fucking 5. I'm sorry. And this is not even talking about loot systems, banning that one dude, right? This is not anything to do with like how the game works now. This is how the game came to be the shit that barely works now. And it's a fucking mess. It took us 3 hours almost to fucking read through the whole damn thing.
Yeah, it took me an hour and a half to go through the entire article by myself.
That was the best hour and a half of your life, wasn't it?
Dying.
What's this article? Is the nail in the coffin. BioWare will actually not be liquidated, I don't think. And the reason why I say this, and this is why I don't like this, I think that EA thinks Anthem was successful, and the reason why I say this is because Anthem made over $100 million in digital sales.
Didn't Mass Effect Andromeda do the same?
I think Andromeda did sell more, at least in some areas. Now,
Yeah,
what
but it's
areas
just that
those were?
EA realized they saw the writing on their wall, and then when they saw the view scores, and they were like, nah.
Maybe.
Sales.
I mean, who knows? They could. The Visceral was liquidated, and they didn't sell this poorly.
I'm not talking about the gaming sales. I'm talking about they made over $100 million in their store.
I mean, you're right, but $100 million, I'm sure that Visceral made them a lot in a lot of other ways. But maybe that you're right. Maybe even though that's not a lot, that's all they care about. And maybe they will keep them. But, I mean, EA has a very long history of taking companies they don't like, restructuring them until they can no longer perform at the same degree they did when they acquired them, and then literally dissolving them to make their games better. And we've seen this happen time and time again, and it will happen time and time into the future. And, I mean, until they don't have anything left. Oh, there it goes. And I said that specifically about, what's the people called? Danger Close. They made Medal of Honor's 2010 reboot, which was pretty cool. And then what happened? Everything they did in 2010's reboot went into Battlefield 3. And then the same thing happened the next year with Warfighter into Battlefield 4. And then they just dissolved them.
From the store alone is actually pretty substantial.
I mean, maybe. If they can live with the stigma.
Then sure. But I think that the fact that they made it from a store alone is freaking insane. So, like, it might be another thing where the Division, even though 90% of the player base was gone in 2 weeks, which I think is still a skewed metric because it was based on Steam, I still think it'll be considered, like, Anthem will be considered a cash cow because stupid amounts of people bought into the idea of Anthem, and even if the game is shit after the fact, they still made their money on the game.
But how successful do they want these games to really be? I don't think they
money.
wanted to work. Like, these games were designed with a decade worth of longevity, and that's what happened with Destiny. And that's what happened. I mean, Division wasn't really. I don't really know the full, the original game's longevity. But I know specifically Destiny was designed to be a 10-year project. And I think over time that extended into a second game.
Anthem was too.
Yeah, and Anthem was.
Well, Anthem also took 7 years to make, so I don't think. Like, sure,
I
it
think they
made
meant
a
the
lot of
game.
money.
No, the actual game was supposed to be 10 years, not a 7-year dev cycle and a 3-year game. They wanted this game to exist for 10 years. On some level.
No, but I'm talking about Anthem as a game. I don't think that sure it may have sold a lot on the digital store, but I think EA is also taking into account this game took 7 years to make and people were not happy about the game. I don't think EA is...
The cost over time is not very great.
Like, it's not gonna hurt EA as much as you think because I think the game broke at least even.
Oh yeah, this was not gonna hurt EA. Nothing will hurt EA. They'll just liquidate them if it hurts them too much, and if they don't, then it won't hurt them that much. They'll just find FIFA ways to make money.
This is gonna sound somewhat controversial, but on the bright side, EA is at least quick on the uptake when it comes to studios starting to do dumb shit. Now, I'm not saying that it's not EA's fault. No, because EA liquidates. I'm saying it's a good thing that they're quick on the uptake. But the bad thing is that
I guess
bad thing is that they lead them to ruin. But at least when they do get to ruin, they're quick to say, we're no more.
We're no more. Yeah, no. I mean, listen, they didn't have Visceral put out 3 more shitty games in a row, Dead Space 4, 5, and 8, and then just kill them. They reaped them early, and maybe it's for the best. I've had to look at it, from a different lens as I got old. Just think about I get older. I look at it from a different lens sometimes, the way they do these things. It's kind of like Capcom fucking up for years and ruining numerous franchises. It's like Konami doing numerous things. It's like Square Enix doing numerous shitty things. Over time, you look back, and it's kind of like, well, maybe that was a little bit whatever. But at least they didn't... At least Capcom made something of all that suffering, right? And that's kind of what you try to do in life. You suffer through stuff. You suffer through school. You suffer through whatever other things you need to do. And hopefully you make something from it. You find personal happiness. You make other people happy. You make something of the suffering. And, I mean, at least something from the suffering for Square Enix was they made 14. And 15 is a decent game. So whatever. I'll give it whatever. But, I mean, they made something of all those years of fucking up. Resident Evil 2 made something and Resident Evil 7 and DMC5 made something of all those years of shitty games.
Yeah. Really.
Ubisoft made something of years of shitty Assassin's Creed games. They made Fire. So at least you could say, well, here's a few years worth of good games after a few years worth of bad. I don't really think I can say that with EA. I can't think of any really slammer games to come out of EA besides A Way Out, which is literally made by a guy who said fuck EA. So, I mean, again, and obviously Respawn, who, let's be fair here, they were not in any fucking hesitation to shit talk Activision when it came time for them to part ways. They were gladly willing to throw Activision under the bus.
Yeah.
Even though I do think that was their fault. But, you know, no, well, yeah, they've shit talked EA too, actually. Thank you. They've done it to both. They don't have a problem with it.
On EA under the bus multiple times, actually.
And it's just like, at least EA doesn't make companies suffer for too long, but they will leave them maimed in such a way that they can no longer continue their duties, which is what happened to Danger Close. It's what happened to Visceral. It's what happened to the Sims people, Maxim. It happens to a lot of these game devs, and now here we are with BioWare, and the only reason why people take notice is because BioWare made lots of games that are popular, and some of them are considered to be the best in their genre or greatest of all time. So now we're finally starting to fucking figure this shit out. Oh, he's a blockhound?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I don't care, whatever. But yeah, that's how I see it. I see it as a bunch of big heads steering people to their own ends. Like they said at one point, they were fighting over whose design should win, so they could never decide on anything because they all wanted to be right and they all wanted to win. And then at the end of the day, it was like a year before the game launched, less than a year, they didn't even have a mission program, so you couldn't even test the game. They have offline versions to test on a always online game. Like, where do the problems stop in this article? They don't even stop at the fucking end, because at the end, they have the fucking lack of balls to blame Kotaku and say that Kotaku calling them out for this is the problem. So where does it stop? And it will never stop. And I think that on some level, maybe they know that, and maybe they just don't care. Because like you said, unless EA comes in tomorrow and hands out pink slips and locks the doors, they're not going to give a shit. But you know what? Fine.
They're probably going to start searching like crazy, trying to figure out who did what, who said what.
Who did what, who said what, yeah, but instead of making a better game is the real sad part. You want to know what's crazy?
Sounds like a lot of work. I don't know, man.
No, they'll do it. I believe, because that's how everything is. They'd rather fix the people who leak the problem than the problem itself. Is the most backwards ass thing.
Making a good game, that's
okay, yeah, you're right. Making a good game is too hard. There are no good single player games anymore.
They don't exist. No,
they don't exist. DMC didn't come out. Resident Evil 2 didn't come out. Fucking
God
Kingdom
of War,
Hearts,
Spider-Man,
God of War, Red Dead 2.
Nier. You don't need any of these games. No,
none of that happened. Pokemon, none of that happened. There hasn't been a good game since whatever Mass Effect 2 or Mass Effect 3. There hasn't been a good single player game. It's the most warped perception of reality and the definition of delusion that I've ever seen in my fucking life. And I know some really fucking deluded people, but I'm not getting into that. Not while they're alive. So it is what it is. These people are fucking Looney Tunes, and there's no end to this. There's no end. They believe in fucking magic. I mean, just
I love that.
Just think about that for a minute.
Magic.
You know what someone would say to me if my boss said to me, "We're gonna get it all together in the last moment." You know what my next thing to do would be? I'd go dust off my fucking resume. That's what I'd fucking do, and I'd be in panic mode too. God, I don't want to work. I'm gonna retire. I'm gonna retire at age 26. I don't give a shit. I'll live in a cardboard box. That'll be the final podcast episode. I get kicked out as I'm walking out the door. Because these people I couldn't imagine working for someone like that. That would be, and then they exist. Oh Lord, they exist. You only hear about it because it's video games. Because this is a video game podcast. And there'll never be a politics podcast for me. There'll be a 2020 election stream, but that's a one and done. And I don't know where I'll host it, but that's just, I'm not even getting into that. It's a bunch of delusional people who essentially got lucky. They're talented, but they also got lucky. And unfortunately, as you get older, You don't see fucking basketball players in their 60s still playing like they did when they were 22. No, you get old, you know, you can't do as much, or times change, and that's it. You gotta either adapt, or you gotta fucking fold. And that's how, like, even now, I'm not as good at COD and shit as I used to be. So either I could spend the months to learn how to play new COD, because it's very different from what I grew up playing, or I just fucking fold, and just say that's not my game anymore. And that's just on an entertainment level. Imagine how serious it is when you're on a fucking professional business level. You could apply that logic to anything. You only get better at something through practice, through succeeding and through fucking up. These people just, oh, fuck it, we'll figure it out last minute. Like they're fucking throwing together a shitty podcast between friends. Like, are they fucking mad? Hell, even I put more effort into this shit. Come on. These people are fucking crazy. They're Looney Tunes. They're... And then what really incensed me was the fucking the shot back at Kotaku. That really was like the final fucking.
It's like they really didn't even read it. They literally just saw the summary and they were like, "Oh shit."
Oh yeah, they're calling us assholes. Yeah, no, I that really incensed me. I was willing to laugh at other shit before, but that is no balls. I'm sorry. You need to find your development skills and you need to find your balls. Maybe reverse the order, because if you're gonna take shots at people, you better make sure your fucking house is not a nuclear waste fallout area, because goddamn, dude, these people made games like Mass Effect 2, right? They always like to jerk off their Mass Effect fucking heritage and their veteran status, but then you make a game like this? Even Inafune made a better game. There are Japanese devs who left their original studios. The original studios made better games without them, like Metal Gear Survive, and then they made better games than what you made. So what are you? Because people were calling Inafune a one-off hack who just got really lucky and had a really good business proposal one time, and then he made a whole billion-dollar franchise off of it. So what the fuck are you? You guys are pro game devs, right? Figure it out. It's not my job. I'm just here to bitch. And that's that. Let's detox a little bit. I'm the one getting fucked. I told you before, my blood was piss and fire talking about something else unrelated. Any final... There's way too much to summarize, so if you guys want to summarize something, just have at it. Just know in like 10 minutes I'm going to end this, because we've been going for so long.
Honestly, as I said, this entire time, I've been saying this whenever we bring up Anthem. There are deep-rooted issues within EA's companies. I don't think it directly involves EA. I just think they were resting on their laurels so much. They were really good companies back in the early 2000s, and they thought that they can just ride on that wave forever. Visceral Games shutting down, I think, is a symptom of EA giving them a task that was too much for them to handle. But every other big studio, Maxis, BioWare, what's another one? DICE.
Ghost Games with their nice
still
Need for Speed.
I don't understand why they got rid of Maxis. I will never understand that decision.
What was it? Cities? Cities was pretty bad.
No. Who gives a fuck? Nigga, The Sims makes a fucking gajillion dollars a second.
Yeah, well, EA does a lot of weird stuff in the name of FIFA.
That's why I'm just
Maxis didn't do...
Yeah, Maxis was The Sims.
I think they did it. I might be wrong.
They were The Sims.
God damn, dude. What a disaster. What an actual... I feel so bad for the fucking people on the grunt level work. It's kind of like Telltale. Because with Telltale, it was the same ordeal.
Here's what you do. If you are in the video game industry and you are a programmer, take your C# knowledge, take your Java knowledge, and get the fuck out of there. Get another company that's just regular business. Fuck the video game industry. Just stop.
You calling for a collapse?
Legit. I went to college for computer science because I was like, I'm gonna go to video games. Then I see this shit, and I'm like, I guess I'm just gonna be a web dev or a fucking IT manager. I don't give a fuck. I ain't doing this shit.
Anything but this, dude. Literally, I would do any career.
As a kid, that was my thing. I'm like, I want to make video games. But this fucking industry is such a piece of shit.
I was right there with you. I wanted to make video games. I wanted to be an astronaut, a paleontologist, or a video game developer. When I picked up that shit, I wanted to do
Mario Brothers, man. I'm like, this is the shit.
And it's all shit. It literally is shit. It's a bunch of dudes
Mortal
fucking...
Kombat, man. I was like, I want to make a good fighting game.
Well, you know what? Mortal Kombat is coming out, so...
I'm not part of that team.
I'm just saying, you know.
Is, like, Mortal Kombat was one of the games that really put me, like, I want to make games. I'm talking Mortal Kombat. Like, Mortal Kombat, that's it. No, no numbers.
I mean, on the flip side of that, I will say this one thing, though. I was in the same position. When I first played Spyro, I said, this is fucking amazing. I mean, my whole life has kind of been sculpted around this one idea that I like video games this fucking much. And I wanted to work in I literally did. This is not me trying to meme because everyone says it. I think a lot of people have this thought. You love video games so much.
I went to college to think about, to try to do this
shit. You want to do it. And I took a course in this too. And I was not bad at it. I mean, obviously it's a very basic thing, but I was willing and able to go forward with this. But I believe I took this course around the time, I think, when did Visceral get dissolved? 2017? It wasn't that. Yeah. It was something else happened in video gaming. And I was like, maybe not. But after seeing what happened with Visceral and a lot of these other companies, oh no, you know what happened? It was the Kojima shit. And it was like, imagine working your ass off to save this company. You know, the company that laughed at you and mocked you and said, make one game before you die, Kojima. And you make a game so good it defines an entire subgenre. You and Shinji Mikami literally make two genres from literally nothing. And Shinji Mikami's a different story. But imagine being that man, and then they just fuck you at the end of the day. And I mean, we don't know what happened, but the way they did it to him was in a very dirty way. And I was very fucking disillusioned after that shit, man. But, uh-oh. Well, see? We did the right thing, dude. We turned this stream into ASMR. This man was out. But thank you, Mr. Instant Retreat. We appreciate it. Instant narcolepsy strikes again. I forgot about that. But, no, he can rejoin if he wants before we end. But I was in the same boat. And then you see this. And this time it's not even really the publisher. I think EA is at fault for allowing this culture to begin, but to be fair, how would they spot it? If all your star players say everything's good, why would you not believe your star players? I don't
understand what it is about video game. Specifically, this doesn't happen in other tech companies.
No, it does. The crunch happens in other tech companies.
No, crunch. Look, I'm not talking about. First of all, crunch. No crunch. Like no, there's no crunch like video game crunch.
Video game crunch is on a completely separate level.
That's a whole nother universe. But I'm talking about like having managers that are dumb is usually for low level shit, like shit that any fucking fresh nigga out of college gets. Like a fucking call center can have bad managers. That's whatever. Who cares? You're talking about a multi-billion-dollar industry. Like what?
Yeah, why not?
You can't have a. First of all, this is a game industry that wants to use the idea of a roadmap for video games that have already come out. But they can't use the original idea of a roadmap, which is, let's see where this game is going to be made. How are we going to make our product? Oh, well.
No, I mean, and the best part is that the one game that exists that could totally help them and fix things up, which is Destiny, they fucking want to ignore and act like it doesn't exist because they're too ashamed to admit that their game is a fucking looter shooter clone. And then guess what it launches as? A looter shooter clone.
What is it? Deep Silver and Volition. What did they make with Saints Row 1? Literally a GTA clone. Did they act like it wasn't? No.
No, they openly admitted it, and then it branched off into its own thing.
When they came out with the second one, they're like, we can make our own thing. All right. And then they made their own franchise.
That's how video
that they inevitably killed. But, they worked on it. It made money.
I might be wrong about this, but the original Kid Icarus and Metroid are based off the Zelda 2 engine. And look how drastically different all three of those games are. I mean, granted, they're all, NES side-scrolling platformers, but look at how far...
Well, one of them spawned the genre.
Look, yeah, Metroidvania literally... even Zelda inspired... all of them, except Kid Icarus, kind of, inspired ridiculous genres. Like, Metroid literally went on to be the basis for, like, Castlevania, and we get games from Metroidvania and that literal line of fucking creating games. And to this day, they still make Metroid games when they're not being stupid about it. And to this
Hey,
day,
they're working on it. Come
Zelda
on.
games, basically almost all of the 3D ones, are considered to be best of all time games. They pretty
much. They don't
every
fuck that
single
up.
3D Zelda and some of the 2Ds go on to be basically listed as some of the best games ever made.
Yeah.
Ocarina, I think Majora
ever.
might even be on that list because of the time and shit, which was revolutionary.
I don't think Majora was rated as highly, but it's considered
was
as
up there,
highly because I think that. Anyway, that's a whole other ton.
I mean, yeah, but you know, I remember seeing Twilight Princess was up there. I think the only one that wasn't was Wind Waker, because Wind Waker was kind of a disappointment to start.
Skyward.
And maybe Skyward, I don't know. Everyone loves Skyward because 25th anniversary, so it kind of gets special treatment just because. But like Breath of the Wild, yet another fucking game. Like, think about how they inspired all these games. I know I'm being very broad here. I'm not going to make this too long of a rant. Think about all the games that Zelda inspired, and imagine all these games having elements, again, inspire Zelda. Zelda is the ultimate feedback machine in terms of video games, besides maybe Mario with platforming. You have jumping in Zelda, you have fucking stealth mechanics in Breath of the Wild, missions. Like, this is shit like The Witcher should have. You would never expect Zelda to differentiate from that dungeon formula, which admittedly Breath of the Wild needed some of, but in all, it was still a good fucking game. You have a physics system, you have crazy shit you can do, people launching themselves to Hyrule Castle in 30 minutes. Like, I could get on that game now and still find shit I never found before. Like, that is the mark of a really good game. But, I mean, saying that is kind of a little bit of a waste, so we'll just keep this brief. BioWare sucks. I said this in Mass Effect 3. They completely dropped the ball on the ending. I felt, and which was written by Casey Hudson, by the way, after the previous writer left halfway. And I pretty much stand my ground. And I'm an idiot. No, I want to take a fucking moment. And Sergio gets to shit on me for all eternity. I am a dumb fuck. I'm certain words. I won't say the certain words. I'll self-censor. But I'm a lot of bad things. And the reason why is because I didn't see this coming at all. I kind of gave them hope because I remembered all the good games I played from BioWare. BioWare's a different animal, baby. BioWare's different. BioWare ain't the same as it used to be. And you can play this game, and let me preclude this with the Overwatch and Destiny argument. You can play this game, you can have fun with this game, you can love this game, but like with a lot of games that aren't good, generally, universally speaking, because everything's subjective, but the general objective consensus is that this game is not good, and we have a whole article of reasons why it's not good, and we have a very inflammatory defensive article, or a post from BioWare, which, by the way, I read that as confirmation that most of this is correct, because they don't ever once rebut anything in that. They don't ever once really rebut it. They just say, oh, well, we do love everything, and we do treat everything. So they're basically going with the idea that none of this happened. They don't rebut specific instances, right? They have a list, right? They at least have like an itemized checklist. So again, find your balls and really do it, or just shut the fuck up. But they don't rebut any of it. But I didn't see it coming for all it was worth. And I didn't think it would be possible for a game to be this bad with this much money, time, and skill behind it. And it's clear that the Western video game industry, to me, between this and Fallout 76, is capable of spinning very high-powered, well-honed wheels and accomplishing little to nothing. And it shocks me. It doesn't make sense in my head how it's possible. But, I mean, what am I going to say? I got to reread this anyway to make a fucking... This is... I don't even know if I want to put this on episode 109. I don't even know if I can make a synopsis short enough to put this on 109. So maybe I will, maybe I won't. If we don't, then this is the final time I'll bring it up for a little bit. Because, you know... You really want every episode for the next 5 years to be about this? Remember, I've been doing this for 6 fucking years, dude.
It's times like this, I'm just like, man, I really miss TB. I just want to know.
Yeah.
I just, man, well, how would he be?
He would tear this game in you. Honestly, I think a lot of the reason why this game was people were allowed to hype this game up for so much is because there wasn't a real mainstream critic who just shat on this game. Total Biscuit would not even give this game a chance.
No, he would have seen this shit. way. Sterling called it, but people are getting tired of him too. Because he's a character. He's not like a person.
Yeah. I feel like the era of being characters has kind of it's kind of run its course. I think people want a more realistic person who's looking out for their best interests. And I mean, there's a lot it's okay to make guides and shit for this game. It's okay to say what the good things are. Like, I'm not saying that you can't defend some aspects of this game, because like I said, the shooting feels pretty clean. They listed actually the 3 good things, and I remember them all. The flying feels fun when you're not forced to land every 10 seconds.
But the only reason that exists is because Soderland said, yeah,
I like flying. He likes to go wee, basically. So they give this man a ticket to Six Flags, and he wouldn't have said that shit. So basically, the shit that they had to remove it. They sent that. They removed it constantly and re-added it. They didn't know what iteration they wanted. Fuck this. This game is a fucking mess. I'm sorry. But they didn't know what the fuck they wanted. And it shows on so many fucking levels. It's not even funny. But... And Soderlund ain't even there no more. And like I kind of hypothesized, Soderlund knew. He knew some degree that this game was going to be bad. There's no way the CEO does not know this game was going to be this bad and then leave to retire. It might not be his full reason for retiring, but he knew. He knew this game was going to be a shit show. He might not ever respond that he knew this game was going to be a shit show because, you know, he doesn't have to. He doesn't work there anymore. But I think he did know. And I think that he intentionally... He even said it, like, what the fuck is this shit? This is not the game you promised me. I mean, he did kind of fuck them up. He set them on the road of being fucked up by forcing the frostbite shit, which I'm just going to say we covered it on a podcast at some point, 60 episodes ago. But I do believe that, like I said before, and at least this has been my feeling since then, it's very hard to put everything on one engine, especially when all these companies are all over the place, they have different culture, and just the engine itself is not a global engine. Like, Unreal is a global engine. You can do pretty much almost anything in it. For whatever you want to say about Epic, their engines are their engine is slamming. Oh, there he is. He's awake, he lives. Oh, there you go, he's gone again. Now, for what you want to say about Epic, their engines work. They know how to make good games, and that's why we see all these different games all work on these different engines. Have you ever seen Rockstar make a non-Rockstar style game on their engines? No, because that's what their engines are used for. Max Payne, Bully, Red Dead, LA Noire, GTA, they're all pretty fucking similar. Now, some of them, you know, have different things here or there, but they know what the engine's good for. Unreal can do everything. I'm just going to leave it at that. And all the, you know, all the other stuff, like Autodesk and stuff you see, they all help out to make this stuff really good. Unity, kind of the same, although, you know, Unity is kind of more lower
Unity's
quality.
falling out of favor.
Yeah, it's a little more lower quality for indies and stuff, but the point is that Frostbite, and I can recall this because this is back in the Modern Warfare 2 days, was something that they made for destruction in a first-person shooter game, which was Bad Company 1 or 2, I forget which one. And by Bad Company 2, they were heavily shilling it, and all the destruction and the this and the that.
Well, it was really fucking cool in Bad Company.
Yeah, it was really cool. And the thing I said about it back then is that when you have a game with destruction this ridiculous, the end of the game tends to be kind of shitty because there's legitimately nothing to hide behind anymore. But whatever, for technologically speaking, it is a first-person shooter engine. All the Battlefield games, I mean, they don't run perfectly, but you can tell they were designed to fit on this engine. I think the FIFA games have survived pretty decently swapping over, because that's their main money. Obviously, they put the most talent and money towards this. So, I mean, I guess it makes sense. I'm just going to give FIFA and Madden a pass, because I don't pay attention to any of that. But, and I mean, apparently it works, because they still make billions off it, so I guess that's what they're going to do. Even DICE is having trouble. And
I think using a tool to make a AAA title, and you gotta contact EA support to get rid of bug, and you might not even get a hold of them because DICE is prioritized. That's a lot of things that are working against you in your element, and you're supposed to make a great game with that. I don't really see how you can do that.
You're up shit's creek. I mean, what are you realistically going to do? You have to make, and it's not like each team has like a designated frostbite person they can summon. Apparently, it's like a call center. You call in and you hopefully reserve someone who can help you for maybe an hour or two.
I find that like, so fucking crazy.
It's like, imagine, like, okay, I'm not even gonna make the example. We read the article. They have to call in and hope that DICE and FIFA are having a good day, so they don't need any help. They don't have anyone designated to them. The poor grunt workers, especially in Austin, they got the full brunt of this, man. This was way worse than I ever imagined reading. Reading this, there was a point, I want to say, see if I can find it. Like, there was a point, let's see. I think by the time that word was frostbite, the rest of that paragraph was a big high, or the rest of that section was a big high. And then we get into the end of 2016. This is about halfway down the page. It was at this point I realized this was really fucked up. Because it's like, we're not even halfway done. People are describing things as fucking razor blades. There's elitist high-level people who just ignore everything.
BioWare.
One BioWare fucking world mind. These people want a cult. If you give them some cyanide and Kool-Aid, they'd fucking murder a whole bunch of these people. They're fucking... Obviously, they're a few more steps lucid than that. But it's cult mentality. It's like, studio culture is a very thin line, I want to say. There's a very thin veil that you kind of cross between a closed groupthink like that and like cult-like ideology. And I mean, it reflects very well by the fact they didn't want to be memed on in Reddit. That was also in this, by the way. We read this in the last 3 hours. They didn't want people to make memes about them on Reddit. So they made one of the worst games ever made for this amount of budget.
Well, no, that was their priority when they had literally no time. Like,
oh my god. And now they're going to be made fun of forever. It's not even funny.
I think this worse the Rockstar thing, where this guy missed his son's birth or whatever, because like these people had to stay up forever. Like,
yeah, even that was considered fucked up. But at least Red Dead was a good game at the end. It's people consider that to be basically one of the best games ever as well. So at least you could justify it and say, we made a fuck ton, honey. You know, it sucks. We got the rest of his life.
It's kind of hard.
It is fucked up. No, I know. I'm just saying that hypothetically, the cost, time, potential is not as wasted as literally losing your mind to develop a game that turns out to be a 55. Those motherfuckers that made Alien Colonial Marines probably didn't give a goddamn at the end of it what it was going to get. They didn't give a flying fuck. They just knew that Ridley Scott was going to give them a lot of fucking money. And that was the end of their involvement. I don't believe that whole shit about, oh, there was one line of code that was... No, the whole game is fucking issues. I played it. See, this is the problem with me playing these stupid fucking games. I played it. I know where the games went wrong. I played first-person shooters my whole life, almost. I know where they go wrong. That game has a lot more problems than one line of code. But they didn't care. In that game, what did Aliens get? Like 60? Oh my god, let's actually see.
Was it that high?
Let's see. I'm curious. Because I want to know.
40.
Please, yeah, didn't it get like really low? What was the game that got lower than it? It got a 48 on Metacritic.
It got a 45.
It got a 48, but Steam is a 6 out of 10, right? Imagine making a game only 7 points higher than Colonial Marines. A game known to be legit shovelware. Like, pushed just to make fucking money.
I mean, Fallout 76 is one of those.
That is why I want an article about that too. Because if we have this much off of fucking Anthem, could you imagine the dissertation?
Come on.
We would have a fucking dissertation from this man on why they fucked up Fallout 76.
Like, I wish I could just watch the dev cycle. I want to hear the meetings. I just want to know.
I need leaks. I really need leaks. I will be the first person to play leaks. I need fucking leaks. I
just want to know.
Because this is really extra. This is an extraordinary amount of hidden salt from former developers.
It's insane that I got that much information.
Higher ups. Like, come on. And the only thing they have to rebut with is, oh, well, your article doesn't help our industry and craft.
All it does is make fun of us and call out specific people, the people who needed to be called out the most.
Oh my god.
It's R. Kelly, where he's like, oh, they made this documentary, they ain't saying none of the good stuff I did.
Well, what? Yeah, we know what good stuff you did. We've been talking about... Yeah, we've been talking about your good stuff for the last 20 years, BioWare. We can go back to 2007 with Mass Effect. We can go even further back. Come on, dude. Really? Like,
Fighting for my life.
that's a sound clip, by the way. I don't have that yet, though. Where he fucking slaps the shit out of that water bottle or whatever. That shit was ridiculous.
For my life.
But no, like, these, like, come on. I don't know. Whatever. Figure it out. It's your job. It's not my job, right? I don't give a damn. If they all end up fired tomorrow, it's because of their own volition. They are the ones that made that bad game. I didn't make the fucking game. I'm not attached to it. I played the fucking game. I'm the consumer. It's shit. If I'd paid $60 for that. Oh.
Paid $90 or $100.
Oh, man. Oh, no. No.
Help me! Help me! Help me!
Oh, shit. I don't want to play that sound clip twice. Okay. I don't know what I'd do. Good fucking God, man. What a catastrophe. But at 3 hours and 24 minutes, actually, excuse me, because the stream has been live longer, but the recording has been a bit shorter because I forgot to start it right away. At 3 hours and 41 minutes, I think we might have finally reached a conclusion.
EA bad, BioWare bad.
Yeah, we should actually think like NPCs. Yeah, BioWare bad. There you go. And at this point, I don't have a lot of faith in EA. I have zero faith in BioWare. I mean, I've had zero faith in BioWare for a long time. And I let some people talk me into, you know, that Andromeda isn't that bad. It fucking was. But at least it was a full game.
Gameplay isn't bad.
Yeah, at least it was a full game, right? At least you could say that, well, it wasn't a great game. It was a game you could play and there's some cool moments. And then, you know, there's other things. And cool, like, some of the story is okay. Like, you know, fucking over everyone at the end was pretty funny.
You did that.
Yeah, I did that. I don't give a shit. Fuck it. Let's see what happens in Andromeda 2, which is never getting made. And then I hate to put this in at the end. I know people are tired. They have the balls to say they want to work on another Mass Effect game after releasing 2 flops in a row and working on Dragon Age. Oh my God. I'm done. I'm clocking out for today because I could do this all night, and it's already like 1:30 in the morning. I'm clocking out. So, first of all, wait, what happened?
Because there's just so much here to unpack.
Yeah, there's too much. We could break down every single one of these
paragraphs. And he says he's gonna do something about Dragon Age 4 next. I cannot wait.
I cannot fucking wait. I mean, maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll be fucking out after 7 years of bullshit.
Maybe they'll get their magic.
Yeah, maybe they'll finally hit pay dirt again. But I mean, if you're banking on luck to supply your job and make your bosses millions upon millions, you are playing a very dangerous lottery, and people already don't like you. People don't like the way you make games. People don't like the way your and I wish some of these ex-employees, I know they want anonymity, you know, and they might be required to because of the nature of everything. But goddamn, imagine if a coalition of them, their contracts run out, and they actually finally we can put faces to or names to the fucking quotes. Could you imagine how much damage that would do? To actually say, yeah, this person worked at BioWare for 10 years and he says this, right? Ew. They didn't rebut it. Just remember, they didn't rebut it. They just fired back at Kotaku. I mean, I hate to be the dude that's like, that's an admission of guilt, but you apparently knew what they were going to say, or at least parts of it. You didn't fire back at any of it. You just said, I didn't do any of it. Kotaku's a bunch of assholes, basically. So, I like internet slap fights, especially between, you know, pissy game devs. I really like that. It's like Phil Fish. It's like Tim Schafer. You know, it's like Capcom giving the fuck you to the Devil May Cry fans a few years ago. But at least, I mean, Phil Fish never made Fez 2, so he's whatever. But at least Capcom may make good shit, and Tim Schafer put out Broken Age. So, first of all, I want to thank people who were here but could no longer be because, you know, it's Tuesday night. It's actually Wednesday, so happy Wednesday to everyone. Mr. Afro Gundam, he had to clock out early. It's all good. Mr. Yummy Gun, as we heard, he departed. Who else? There was one other person who left. I can't remember who.
Godark.
No, he's here. He's still here. Yo, Ivan, buddy. Alright, he might be gone. Mr. Godark for being the sound tester, the consumer. Yeah. There you go. Give this man a fucking round of applause. Good shit, dude. And there he goes. Mr. Double Prime.
Yes, yes.
I think the pitchforks are bloodied. The flamethrowers are out of gas. The ropes are threadbare. It's time to return home for the night. Mr. Instant Retreat. Probably clocked out again. Mr. Surgster 1.
See you guys.
How did you enjoy this, my friend?
This was vindication.
This is 3 hours of Sergio just getting to fucking slap his dick on the table. And you know what? He deserves it. I don't even care. It just made a nice big meaty...
Having you guys, it was interesting.
There's a lot of things. It's hard for me, and you know who I am. It's hard for me because I like Schadenfreude. I did not, like, usually, like I said, this is like a feast. I like laughing at game studios. You know, I liked laughing at Overwatch when Jeff Kaplan was banning people. I liked laughing at Destiny when they were doing their dumb shit. But it's hard for me to digest this much. I don't think on this rest of this podcast, I don't know when the fuck this shit'll end, but I could not imagine doing this podcast and for another, you know, how many years has it been? 6 years? I think this is season 7, whatever. I could not imagine doing this for another 7 years and nothing of this caliber will come out. We had Gamergate, we had all kinds of fucked up shit happen on this podcast. And I don't think that we'll ever match this. I think this is the high point.
I hope nothing ever happens like
that. Yeah, right? Like, I mean, it gives us shit to talk about. We could break this down every section, a podcast for the next 3 months. I promise you I could do it. But would it be fun? I'd do it. I don't think everyone else here would. But I'm Spray and Pray 1000.
This is Searcher 1.
Yeah, he's the man who I'm so glad I didn't read this ahead of time. It would have been fucking screaming. It would have been... I'm glad you found it. I'm done. I'm clocking out. So, ladies and gentlemen, from Mixer to YouTube to Twitch, I might just leave the YouTube segment live just in case if I have it recorded. But that's quite something. And there's only one thing I could play at the end of this stream that greatly sums this all up. So, with that in mind, good night, everybody. And polish off those resumes, BioWare. And that's all I'll say. I know EA. I know them.
Help me! Help me!